What's up? You are
Hey,
live. I can see you live in the super chat.
hey, Billy.
This is awesome. This is season 2, almost season 3. Deweese Milstead just jumped in and said hello, everyone.
Hello,
Season 2,
Dee.
episode 101. Will Fly. Tony Marzano is in the house. Sean NASCAR. What is up, my friend? Hey, Tony. I know that you won the shirt. I got your address, and we'll be sending that out soon. I think that Bill, no, who is it? Nick Griffith won a T-shirt. I just don't have your information. You need to give me that information. Daniel Roosh is in the house. Hello. Good to see you guys. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to fly a paramotor. How to fly a paramotor. I mean, my goodness, there's so many different ways of flying a paramotor.
Yes.
Whoops,
Search for us on the
that was me. I did that. I'm trying to close out all these windows, and I became loud. Sorry about that. We're going to be talking about how to fly a paramotor. Let me share my screen real quick. Check this out. We're just putting this one out. I don't fly. I dangle by string. Hashtag string life, baby. So we're putting out more and more things on our merchandise. You can always find that merchandise by looking on my channel down below, and that will be popping up soon. You can also go to iloveppg.com, which reminds me, DP, did you see his post on Facebook? He had a iloveppg.com iPhone case. How cool is that? So DP, shout out to you. And shout out to all you guys out there that listen to us every Monday night. Tonight, we got ppglear.com in the house. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how are you doing? You can find me at ppglear.com. I am doing well. Thanks for asking.
That's awesome. It's really cold up there. You live in Wisconsin, and how cold is it getting up there?
Yeah, we're in northern Wisconsin. We actually went out flying on Saturday off the lake, and I think it was about 25 degrees or so. I was up for about half an hour and really enjoyed it. It was a nice flight.
That's good. We'll definitely need to talk about what you wear when you get up there and it's cold like that. But your show that you do a podcast every Tuesday night at ppglear, lear.com. What does that usually entail? What do you guys talk about on Tuesday nights?
Well, we try to talk about we gear our show towards educating newer pilots for paramotors and just hanging out, listening to the chat, and answering questions that they have also.
Awesome. It sounds awesome. That's tomorrow. So if you guys haven't done it yet, go over to ppglear.com. That forwards over to his YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe and that bell notification. Thank you, sir. This is going to be a fun podcast tonight. We also have Will Fly from willflyppg.com. What's up, bud?
Hey, how's it going? Good to be here. Had a really good flight tonight, but it was the coldest flight of the season. And I don't think I can do too many more flights like that, but it was beautiful. So I think instead of an hour flight, I'm going to have to cut it down to maybe a half an hour, somewhere thereabouts.
Well, what is the coldest flight that you've ever done? Because I'm sure your coldest flight and Eric's is probably different.
Yeah, no, our definition of cold are completely different, I'm sure. The
Yeah.
coldest flight, I've flown in the 30s, and that's as cold as I really ever want to fly. And, but last year I could fly in colder temperatures because I really, really, really wanted to fly. I wanted it bad enough to put up with the coldness. This year, I'm a little bit more picky as far as my comfort and what I'm willing to put up with. But man, so today was like, I don't know, 40 degrees, and that's what that was at the surface, so 1,000 feet above, it's going to be even colder, and it was. But even with the heated gloves and 2 layers of, what do you call them?
Clothing?
No, long johns.
2 layers of clothing? I don't know.
Yeah, no, 3 layers of clothing at least, not including the jacket. So
Right.
I don't know. It was good, but I'm just going to cut back a little bit on the length of the flight.
Yeah, I'm with you. When it comes to cold, I think that 40s, mid 40s is probably the coldest I really want to fly now. I mean, before I was like you. I could go fly anytime because I wanted to fly. Now it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
what's that saying? There are old pilots and there are cold pilots. There are no old pilots.
but there's no old cold pilots. I don't know. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely need to talk about cold weather gear and flying. Thank you so much for being on the show, Will. Definitely appreciate you jumping on. We also got Paramom USA, our Linda Anderson. She's our cheerleader. Let's see the got
I
the
had to
pom
go grab
poms.
my pom-poms because I forgot. See, I was like,
How can you forget? I mean,
I
that's the
know.
only thing that we asked for you to do every
I
week.
know. It's all good. Welcome, welcome. Hello, my chatters in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight because you know it's Monday. And that's where you need to be. And don't forget to check out on Facebook. I always click the our show on Mondays on my story or your story, whatever you call it. So y'all check it out. I always put a reminder in there about the show and everything. So I really appreciate you guys. Looking forward to tonight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for booking all the people that you book to be on the show. So if you want to be on the show, just go to paramomusa.com. It forwards to her Facebook page. Linda Anderson, just message her and say, hey, I want to be on clearproptv.com. And she'll hook you up. She'll hook you
There you
up.
go.
So let's look in the chat real quick. Who do we have here? We got Deweese Milstead, Bill H., Tony Marzano, Sean Nasker, Daniel Roosh, of course, Eric PPG Lear. See, Will Flies chatting in there also. We got a lot of people in the chat. Aaron I, the PPG guy, Bill
Cool.
H. I'm scrolling down. Looks like it's a bunch. Brian Waller is in the chat tonight. So wait a minute, Wiggly Wing. We got Wiggly Wing.
Wiggy Wing.
Is that Wiggy Wing? Okay, Wiggy
Wiggy
Wing. Welcome. Wiggy Wing was flying under 20 last Saturday. I'm assuming under 20 was under 20 degrees. That's too cold.
Too cold. Yes. Were you talking about the Brian Waller, like the Brian Wallers in the chat?
Hey, Bell.
Not
Yep.
like here in the room with us, but he's on the chat. Oh, okay. I just was checking.
He's on the chat. So welcome. So glad all you guys could
pick on
make
him.
it.
He can't
Absolutely.
hide from us. He knows it.
So not only are we live right now, but we are also streaming audio live, and we are also. I just checked. I wanted to check to see all of our different.
Oops, sorry, that's me.
Is that you?
Yeah.
All right. I checked to see where we are on the internet, and we have over 20,000 downloads. We're on Bullhorn, Podchaser, Castbox, Stitcher, Listen Notes, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon, Audible, iHeartRadio, and many more places. So if you search for PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast or Paramotor Podcast, you can find us pretty much everywhere. We're going to be in season 3 pretty soon. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to fly a paramotor. Now, we were all talking about how to fly a paramotor. Matter of fact, before the show started, in our pre-show, that you don't get to listen to, unfortunately. It's kind of private. But we're talking about how easy it is to actually fly a paramotor. You can probably learn to fly a paramotor on the internet. But the reason why you'd want to go to school instead of learning to fly on the internet is because why? Well, we had a bunch of guests already that tried to teach themselves how to fly from YouTube. And the most recent one, they bought all their gear on eBay. They had a 20-year-old wing or a 10-year-old wing. Their motor was really horrible. It kind of worked, but he went through 4 different props, broke 4 different props before going to search for a paramotor instructor. And we've had other people too that's been on this podcast that tried to learn how to fly before going to school. Now, what's the difference between learning to fly on the internet and going to a an instructor, an actual school? Will, you went to school, correct?
I went to an instructor. Yes.
Instructor, and Eric, you went to an instructor also?
I did.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk to them real quick about their experience in school and what they actually had to learn, or what they actually learned in school, and that had nothing to do with flying. I mean, you grab your A's, you run forward, you inflate, you mash the gas, and you're flying, right? You fly around, you pull left, you turn left, you pull right, you turn right, you come down, you flare, you land. Okay, really simple and easy. But what did you learn in school that was over and beyond that? Who wants to go first? Will, Eric?
Go ahead, Will.
I'll knock it out because mine's going to be pretty quick. And unfortunately, my first experience with an instructor was not good. So I didn't invest the time necessary to pick the right school or the right instructor for me. That being said, I can tell you, though, the biggest advantage as I see it is if you learn something you watch something on YouTube and you go out and perform it, you don't have the third party, the knowledgeable third party watching you and being able to tell you where you did wrong when something goes wrong, and something will go wrong. It always does. Everybody has little things happen, but when you got someone watching you and able to give you tips and tricks on what you could have done better and how you could have prevented something, I think that would be the biggest advantage.
Were you able to have someone video you so you could go through the video and see what it looks like from a different angle?
No, no, unfortunately not. And until I still got good instruction. Don't get me wrong. I got good instruction because I had a real strong local group of guys who were knowledgeable and who were able to video and point out things. And if I had questions, I could ask. So I lucked out in that regards. Never, ever, the guest there with the 4 broken props, man. Yeah, my heart bled for him. I mean, dang, he really wanted to fly. But like it's been said, you're going to spend your money on gear or you're going to spend it on training, and since it's your health that you're risking, you might as well just spend it on some good training,
Absolutely. Well, how about as far as like airspace and weather and stuff? Did you learn from your instructor or from your group?
Airspace, my background is in aviation as a flight instructor. So I already had the airspace down. I was familiar with that and how to talk on the radio, things like that. But all of that information was readily available in the PPG book, because I guess you can't say the B word. But yeah, I mean, that the actual learning to fly the paramotor for me came down more towards learning how to kite the wing and control the wing. I had with that one instructor, the first instructor, my 6th launch attempt, I messed up a whole bunch of stuff. I broke my prop. It was 3 sections of the hoop, my netting. It was just a mess. After that, I decided, okay, because I was thinking about giving up the sport completely, thinking maybe, it wasn't for me. But I decided to try it again, but I committed to myself that if I was going to get back into it and try to learn this thing, I was going to know that wing inside and out. So every morning I'd go to the park and I'd spend sometimes 8 hours a day doing nothing but kiting over and over and over again from one side of the field to the other, and that more than anything really, really helped.
That's good. And with your background in aviation, you already had your general aviation's pilot's license and you knew airspace. So what more do you think that you needed to be a paramotor pilot?
Well, as far as the flying part of it?
Oh, as far as flying, as far as just knowledge in general, I mean, with your weather that you already knew from GA, did that roll over to help you with paramotor flying and micrometeorology?
It did to some extent, but
Mhm.
not like what you just said, micro. I mean, general aviation, yes, weather is extremely important, but not to the extent that it is in paramotoring. I mean, your tolerances are a lot tighter, you know, for wind and weather, things like that. So yeah, I could carry it over, but I couldn't say that I knew everything that I needed to know book wise, just because I was coming from the GA side.
And yeah, as far as books are concerned, we're talking about that PPG Bible. In the chat, super chat, or if you guys are listening right now, raise your hand or put in the super chat. How many people have at least one copy of the PPG Bible? And do you have an older copy or do you have the newer copy? Did you know that he's actually going to be putting out a audio version of the book? I think he said.
Mhm.
So that'd be pretty neat. But yeah, I have an older copy. I got the newest copy. I got the instructor book from him, and I got another book from somebody else that wrote about how to paramotor. I forgot who it was. It was a really good book. It's a lot thinner than Jeff Goins. But yeah, let me know in the super chat how many people have read it. And did you read it before you went to school or tried to paramotor? Thank you, Will. We'll definitely go back to you as far as more information, especially about the general aviations. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that as far as like what it takes to get your GA license and stuff. We'll talk to you about that in just a moment. Eric over at ppglear.com. Now you fly trikes and you do foot launch, correct?
Yep, I do both. And I went to a school down in southern Wisconsin. I live in northern Wisconsin. So when I was picking a school, I didn't want one that was going to be set from this date to this date. I wanted a school that I could go when it was convenient for me and learn. And then the biggest thing when I was choosing a school was I wanted to make sure that I can go back after I get my PPG2 rating, that I can go back at any time to get refreshed and it doesn't cost me anymore. And he said, absolutely. So the things that you learn in a school is, you know, they have simulators that you can sit in and they will teach you how to flare and how to land, you know, and unlike Will, I didn't come from an aviation background. So we did learn how to talk on the radios. We did learn airspace, which is super important to know. Also, there is some things that a lot of instructors will say, okay, you can fly, you actually landed, you're good, you can go off now, go do it, you know. And I know a lot of instructors will say, hey, we want to see 25 successful flights, but during these 25 successful flights, we're going to go through a few things, you know, how to stop oscillations, how to make oscillations, how to control your wing, how to use tip steering, how to use the brakes properly, you know, to make sure that you're safe. And that's the biggest thing, is they're concerned about safety. And that's their main objective, is to make sure that you're safe. But definitely a school is worth it, because you will spend your money in broken gear if you don't spend the money on an instructor.
I totally agree. As far as airspace is concerned, how well do you think that you know airspace?
I know enough.
You know,
I know how to read it, and we will. If we go somewhere new, we will read the airspace map and know that we're legal. And still to this day, I will reach out and ask my instructor. When we left Moonshiners, we went out to Outer Banks, and I actually reached out to Will and I asked him, you know, where we wanted to fly and what certain things meant. And he was able to answer that because he's more experienced in the general aviation side. So he knew the answer. But that's where the Paramotor family is very nice to have, and make those connections so you can reach out to other people. Not one person knows everything, but everybody together knows everything.
Exactly, and this is definitely a community that it's a small community. I mean, pretty much everybody knows everybody. Even if you're not a big YouTuber, we probably know you, especially if you've gone out and gone to a fly-in. Looks like let's look in the super chat real quick, see what's going on. DP donated $10 in the super chat. Merry Christmas, Parapeeps. Love you, he says. Thank you very much, DP. Definitely appreciate you. Let's see who said that they have the PPG Bible. Let me scroll down. Wow, there's a lot of chatting going on. PPG, the other Nick, what's up, buddy? And Sean Nasser says, I got the newest one. Tony Marzano said, I got the Bible. Bill H got the older version. DP, number 6 here. I have a new copy, says Deweese Milstead. Brian Waller says, I got it and read the whole thing before training, version 5, I think. Tony Marzano says it's on its nightstand, just like at a hotel. That's cool. That's cool. Rereading is good. DP is rereading it. So it looks like a lot of people have got it and have been reading it. What do you think, guys, as far as the PPG Bible? Is this something that if you read it before going to school, you would have a good foundation before going to school? What do you guys think? Good foundation?
Oh yeah, he told us after we learned how to kite, he said, okay, next time you come down, make sure you read this chapter to this chapter.
Okay.
And we did. When I say we, of course, a lot of people know Jade, and Jade is my wife, and she learned with me. She's also a trike flyer. And we read those chapters. We went to school, and then the next time he says, okay, when you come back down, make sure you read this chapter, this chapter. And it's a lot of information. It's a very well-written book.
How about you, Mr. Will? Did you read it at all since you had that GA background?
Yes, and it's a wealth of information, and it answers just about any topic you can think of related to paramotoring. It's a great book. Also, on that note, the 6th edition is a lot better, in my opinion, than the 5th edition. So if you've got the 5th or whatever, and you're wondering if it's worth upgrading to the 6th, I would say 100% yes. Would you agree, Sean?
Yes, I agree. It's definitely formatted a lot better, and it just seems like it flows a lot better than the 5th edition. He did a lot of revisions on it, and it really is awesome. I agree. Lots of information. A lot of my students too, they read it, and I'm getting a bunch of texts asking all these different questions. And the thing is, when you read it and you're not a pilot, you're not in the sport, you just, learn about paramotoring, and you're like, so how do I do this? I mean, what do I do? You get the PPG Bible, and now you start reading it. And there's terminology in there that will blow your mind, especially if if you're just starting this, there's a lot of terminology that you just don't get. But as soon as you step into school, it's like, oh, that's what he meant. Oh, that's what this is. Oh, I understand that. So reading the entire book before you get to school really helps things click when the instructor starts talking about something that, you didn't quite understand. Since we have been flying for a while, actually Paramount USA, our Linda Anderson, she does not fly, but she does listen to us a lot. Just curious, and we'll go back to talking more about paramotors, but since Linda doesn't fly, but she listens to us, and her son does a paramotor podcast also. What is that? Paraglidingtalk.com?
Paraglidingtalk.com.
With Robert Michaels, your son,
Robert
right?
Michaels, my awesomest.
Awesomeness, right? So
Yes.
when he first started doing this podcast, which has been years and years and years, he's been doing a podcast for a long time. When you started listening to this, you didn't understand what he was talking about most of the time, right?
Right. Yeah, literally, I would have my notepad, and I would make notes. And when you guys started talking the paragliding, paramotor, I called it lingo, I would write it down so I didn't look silly. Like, what's that mean? What's that mean? So I listened to everything, and I've learned a lot about the sport. I've learned a lot about I know a lot of things now that you guys talk about. Now I can, say, oh, I know what they're talking about. And like I said, I know the lingo. I know all the just, I remember at one time it was like, what's an LZ? That's how
Right.
far back. And so
Right.
and when I finally figured that out, I was so proud of myself. And then the next time when I got on the show, you guys be talking, and I'm like, yeah, I know what that means. I know this, the props and yeah, and what clear prop is, and just all kinds of stuff, the camera things, the guys use and everything. Yeah, it's
So,
fun.
so for the people that do not know, that are just learning about paramotors for the first time, they listen to this podcast and they just heard you say LZ. What does LZ mean?
Yeah, landing zone.
Very,
Right,
very good.
the landing zone.
And
That's
you said
very
something about clear
word.
prop. You said something about clear prop. Does that mean that you can see through the prop? Because it's clear? Is it?
Nope. That
What is,
means that when you're getting ready to take off, that your prop, which is those blades, I call them, inside the motor, that when you turn that motor on, when you're getting ready to take off, clear prop means you better get out of the way because I'm coming out.
right. Clear prop is what you say when you're ready to start the motor to make sure
Yeah.
everybody stays clear of the prop. Very good.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And you don't fly,
No.
but you've been listening to this. So what do you think as far as like, in your opinion, if someone was to spend years of listening to paramotor podcasts like this and watching YouTube channels, you'd have a pretty good understanding before going to school, correct?
Oh, yeah. The first thing I would do is learn how to kite and learn how to control the wing.
Exactly.
That's the first thing. And make sure, like I said, you got a good school you're going to have good instructors, that will teach you safety, number one. Yeah.
Safety, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm glad you brought up safety. So let me ask you something. Would you ever ground start a paramotor?
No.
Where are the two places that you want to start a paramotor?
The two places I want to start a paramotor,
Yep.
you don't want to ground start. Now that'd be something.
So you'd want to say either on your back or rack, right? So you want the paramotor on your back,
Oh, okay.
or you want it on a rack to start it. Those are the only two places you want to start a paramotor.
Okay. So, that's good. Okay. So it's
Oh,
either.
that's awesome. You just learned something.
Yeah,
awesome. The two
I
places
did.
to start a paramotor is on your
Places.
back or rack. Boom. Good for you.
But I've noticed that once you start your paramotor up or whatever, you don't. I see guys, messing with them where they shouldn't be. Let's just say, I'm just saying, like, they're out there, they turn it on in their front yard and they're running around the yard, getting the leaves out of the way, whatever. I just look at it. That's something you don't want to. You always want to think of safety on that, because just use it for flying. You know what I mean? And just watch it. Just be aware of your surroundings when you're out there.
Exactly.
Because people are running around, kids are running around, dogs are running around. I see, at the fly-ins and everything. And yeah, you just something when you're out there, you want to take it serious.
That's a good thing. I'm glad that you brought up safety. So safety is a very important thing when it comes to paramotoring. Let's go ahead and get back with Will and Eric. Eric, what are some safety things that you have incorporated in your life since you started paramotoring? I know it's either back or rack, but what are some other things that you tell new pilots or new people that want to get into the sport? What are some safety features that you recommend?
Well, of course, that prop is something that's spinning. The paramotor is not a toy. It really isn't. It's something that is, it can be dangerous, so, as we kind of discussed, the instructors will teach you a lot about safety. Not on the ground. Don't ground start. And like Sean said, either on your back or on the rack, preferably on your back. That's going to be the safest spot to start. Also, on trike pilots, if you're going to start your motor and let it warm up, make sure that front tire is up against a building or your car or something, because if that thing does accidentally go wide open, you don't want this thing on wheels going across the field. I have been guilty of that, and my instructor corrected me of that. So, we're always learning. A lot of safety stuff, on top of that is, they're going to teach you, when to pull brakes, when not to pull brakes, when not to use your brakes. There's tons of safety out there. There is just so much information to try to explain it all in a 1 hour YouTube show would be impossible. This is something that it does take a lot of time to get that all to sink in. But the most important things is definitely get your training.
Absolutely. Totally agree. We can talk about this until we're blue in the face, but you got to remember, when you go to school, you're learning from sun up to sundown, usually 2 weeks in a row. So, if you think about it, that is a lot of knowledge that is going into your head that you're learning, or understanding after reading the PPG Bible. So trying to learn everything that you need to learn through YouTube, is possible, but you might be that guy you might be that guy that doesn't understand TFRs, or notice the airmen, or understanding the airspace, going up before sunrise. Okay, here's something that a lot of people don't know. When you turn on your strobes and you have them 30 minutes before sunrise or 30 minutes after sunset, you are allowed to fly in G airspace only. You understand that, right? That means that you don't get up 30 minutes before sunrise, turn on your strobe, and go up to 18,000 feet. That's illegal. You have to stay in G airspace. And depending on where you are, that could be 700 feet, that could be 1,200 feet. Out west, well, you could go up to 14,000 feet, and that's still G airspace. But you got to understand what is legal and what is not legal. Will Fly, what are some safety tips that you would give people that are just getting into the sport or want to get into the sport?
I would say get connected with a local group of pilots and start to develop a solid support group for when the questions come up. And when you're not going to learn everything, like Sean said, there's a lot of information that you're going to be learning in 2 weeks. And it's not just book stuff. You're also learning new feelings. As a flight instructor, when I was teaching, when you try to teach somebody how to land, you can tell them as much as you want, but until they actually feel the flare and feel, it's more of a feeling, and you can't teach a feeling. So that would be my number one tip. Of course, the book is that's a solid foundation. Other than that, I would find the school, right, that you trust your life with, find the right instructor, the right school, do your research on that, and then be a robot, man. Listen to the instructor and do what he says. The one thing that came to mind, Sean, is that you were talking about safety and stuff like that is, yeah, you can learn on YouTube, but why not have somebody there who's already knowledgeable about the mistakes that you're most likely to make and either save you a lot of damaged equipment and broken bone, maybe. Why not? Why would you subject yourself to that? You're not saving yourself any money. I can tell you that right off the bat. It may seem like you are at first, but you're doing yourself a real disservice by doing that. There was one other thing I wanted to point out regarding safety. Sean Nasker, he made a comment. He says it's better to be comfortable and safe than miserable and rushed related to cold weather. And that is absolutely true, because when you're rushed, you are much more likely to make a mistake if you're rushed and uncomfortable. So good point, Sean.
Well, thank you very much. And unfortunately, when it comes to this sport, there's a lot of things that you don't know that you don't know. And you can't learn something that you don't know that you need to learn about. Unfortunately, uh, that's something that you can't learn. I don't think that you can learn everything like that on the internet because you don't know what to search for. I mean, if you know that you want to learn how to wire up an electrical outlet, well, you can Google how to wire up an electrical outlet and go step by step. But I don't think there's anything out there on the internet that shows everything that you're going to learn in 2 weeks with an instructor. Even the PPG Bible, there's a lot of stuff that is not covered underneath there, or in there. I mean, a lot of stuff is, but there's a lot of stuff that you just don't know that you don't know. And that's, I think, where the issue is when it comes to learning how to fly. Any questions in the super chat about learning how to fly, or any questions or any safety tips or anything like that you guys want to offer or talk about? Is there some sort of rules or regulations that you are kind of like don't know about or would like to learn more about? Ask in the super chat. And also, too, don't forget, you can always go over to ppgzone.com if you haven't done so already. Sign up for a free account, and there's an interactive map that will pop up and show you all the different pilots that are on ppgzone.com. And you can see all the pilots around you. Click their name and talk to them on PPG Zone. Say, hey, I fly. Do you want to get up together sometime and fly? So that's a great way of getting up with people. And even before you start to fly, go to ppgzone.com, sign up for a free account, find all the people around you, and start chatting with them. Say, hey, whenever you are ready to go out and fly, can I come over and say hi? Can I see your gear? Can I watch you take off?
Yeah, I've not had one person say no to me when I asked them that question. Paramotor pilots love showing you their gear, and I mean that's just what we do. If you don't mind, and then I'll kind of hang out in the background. But there were a couple of things about airspace that I wanted to mention. That there seems to be a misnomer. Well, it's not a misnomer, but a misunderstanding. Class G airspace is uncontrolled airspace. Class Echo or Class E airspace is controlled airspace. And a lot of people think, well, no, okay, I'm in Class E airspace, so that must be that I'm in uncontrolled airspace. That's not the case. And the reason is just because you're not being controlled doesn't mean ATC is not controlling someone else who's on an IFR flight plan. So just wanted to make that distinction there. And that's one of the reasons you were saying Class G at night or 30 minutes after sunset, you could only be in Class G. That's absolutely right, because Class G is uncontrolled. So you can only be in uncontrolled airspace during that time.
Exactly. I'm really glad that you said that, Will, because there are a lot of people out there that kind of understand it and kind of wiggle around it. And I've heard many times people taking off 30 minutes before sunrise and getting up to 5,000 feet and cruising. It's like, no, it's like 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after. I mean, when it comes to sunset, you need to be down in G airspace with a strobe that can be seen 3 statute miles, which is regular miles like you and I can see. It's not nautical miles. And don't use a bicycle flasher because you can't see. I've seen some people that put on bicycle flashers.
Oh, wow.
You can't see them. And and I'm looking for people when I'm flying, especially when it's after sunset or before sunrise. It's like I'm looking for my buddies. And when you turn on your bicycle flashlights, they don't work. I can't see them. Even if it's like, no, I can't see them. It's awful. Please don't use those strobes. They do not work.
They almost sound like almost illegal, you know what I mean? To use those up in the air, the bike, like, yeah, you want to keep those for your bicycle, right? Not for flying.
No.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
No.
I'm glad you guys brought that up about See, I'm learning something tonight now too with the Class G airspace, because I was listening to going, oh, I haven't heard of that. I've heard of like safety in the air and the FFA and all that, people, guys talking about that, but I wasn't aware that, yeah, that there's a Class G. I even wrote it down on here. Airspace means it's a controlled airspace, which means what the,
Class G is uncontrolled.
oh, it's uncontrolled?
Yeah, Sean Nasker in the chat said, what did he say? Something about, let me see if I find it. Oh, it scrolled up, daggone it. I can't remember, but he was
Okay.
saying that Class E means, or maybe stands for everyone else, but really Class G, the way I've taught it, stands for go for it airspace, and Class E stands for everything else controlled.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
So
anytime, when you want, Sean, I've got a quick and easy way that I use to teach the visibility and cloud, require the
Yes.
cloud.
Yes, absolutely. Because I've seen people that are flying and doing videos that are really close to clouds or going through clouds and stuff like that. And you got to be careful what you post.
I saw that.
Absolutely.
I saw that on
I'm
there.
not definitely no names, but
Right.
you got to be careful what you post, because at one time that I flew to Denny's on my paramotor, it was a great day. There was nothing below me, but right in front of me there was ground fog as far as the eye can see, and the sun was coming over it. So I put my feet up like you normally do, right? And I was videoing that. I'm like, look at this. This is so cool. But straight down below me, there was ground. You can see it. And behind me, there was nothing. And somebody called the FAA. I had to talk to the FAA
Wow.
and prove that I was not flying over and around clouds. And I had to prove that I knew what G airspace was, free and clear of clouds, and E airspace up to 10,000 and over 10,000. And, after I told them that, they're like, okay, you know your stuff. Okay, good deal. But don't get to that point that you're posting something that the FAA might give you a call, or you have to give them a call and explain, why you're flying so close to clouds. So Will, go ahead. Tell us how you teach people cloud airspace.
Well, okay. So assuming you know what airspace you're in, everything is 3 miles visibility and 152, like a Cessna 152. And that's 1,000, 500 below, 1,000 to the side, and wait a minute, I'm getting it. 500 below, 1,000 above, and geez, man, it's been a long time since I've done this. 5, 1, and 2. Yes. So 500 below, 1,000 above, and 2,000 feet horizontal. If you just remember that, you're going to be okay 70, 80% of the time. So 3 miles visibility, 152. That's, I guess, 1,000 to the side, 500 below. Oh, dang, I did it again. Just write down
1,000 on top, 500 below.
Yeah. So 500 below and then double it. 1,000 above, 2,000 feet horizontally. There are only 3 exceptions to this rule, and that is Class G during the day, which is 1 mile and clear clouds. 10,000 feet and above, MSL, is F111. So you need 5 miles visibility, 1,000 feet. Let's see, 111. 1,000 feet above, 1,000 feet below, and 1 mile horizontal. I think I'm saying that right. Yes, 1,000 feet horizontal, 1,000 feet. No, dang it, man. I'm really sorry. I'm tired, and it's been a long time since I've taught this.
Help him, Eric.
1,000
Help him.
below, 1,000 above, and 1 mile horizontally from clouds. That's F5 111. 1,000 below, 1,000 above, 1 mile visibility. That's the second exception. The third exception is Class Bravo or Class B airspace, which you need 3 miles visibility, and you have to be able to remain clear of clouds. And the reason the cloud clearance is so, unrestricted there is because you have to be controlled to be in Class Bravo airspace. You have to have not it's permission. You have to have a clearance to enter Class Bravo airspace. So,
which I think 90% of us will never do.
no, now I guess Mark Honeycutt, he did it. Someone else did it too, not too long ago.
Right. And the thing is, you can pretty much fly anywhere on a paramotor as long as you have permission.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of places you can fly over military bases and stuff like that, because the bases only have an airspace from a certain time during the day. That means in the morning and at night, it goes back to G airspace. So you can fly. You can call in and ask for permission to fly through, and they'll usually give you permission. So, I mean, there's not too many places that you cannot fly as long as you ask permission. But the greatest thing about paramotors is that G airspace pretty much across the whole United States goes from ground level up to 1,200 feet. There are some exceptions, but about 1,200 feet. And let me tell you, when you're flying at 1,200 feet and, you know, right around there between 1,000 and 1,200 feet, that's high. You know, that you can see a lot, you can cruise far, you can do a lot of things within 1,200 feet. So you never even need to really jump into echo airspace. But if you do, it's a little bit nice and cool up at 2,500 feet when it's like 110 degrees down below during the summertime. Over here in Arkansas, getting up to 25 feet or 25,000 feet, it feels like an air conditioner. But you get up to a mile over 5,000 feet and it feels like winter, even though it's 110 degrees down below. Gotta love it.
There was one thing that you brought up, you know, you mentioned NOTAM and what it is. You know, for people that don't know, basically it is a notice that's filed with the FAA to give alert to pilots about hazards, potential hazards. And the FAA just recently changed that. It used to be notice to airmen. It is now, because we're in a politically correct state, it is now notice to air missions. And a lot of people don't know that, but that is just something that is recently in the past month, maybe two, that has come through. So
you can still say NOTAM because it's notice to air missions.
It's NOTAM. NOTAMs is now notice to air missions. Yes.
I did not know that. So, hey, see, you learn something new. I mean, that's why I love doing these podcasts. I love listening to these things because there's always a little something that you learn. Here's something that I do is before I take off, I go to tfr.gov. I forgot what it is. It's on my phone. And I look really quick for the NOTAMs and see if my airspace is clear. Make sure there's no VIP flying overhead. Or making sure there's not we had toad suck days over here in Arkansas, over in Conway, and toad suck days. That's where you get to suck your toad.
Oh,
that's
what? Come on. How else are you going to get high for free? So over here we have toad. Seriously, we have toad suck days. So, anyways, during our toad suck days this last year, this last year, we had a bunch of airplanes that flew over, but there was a TFR. There was a TFR saying that this is what was going on. Well, I always look on I can't remember what it is. It's tfr.something.gov or something, and it will list all the TFRs, and I go to the top because it has the dates, and I look, make sure there's nothing in Arkansas. If there isn't, I take a screenshot of that. So it is time stamped that I looked at the TFR. So if I do go up there and something does come through, or if something does pop up and I'm forced to come down because there's a TFR or something, I can say, look, time stamped this morning before I went flying, I looked and there was nothing there. So that's there to cover my butt. And I totally forgot about the Toad Suck air show going through. So I almost flew that day. I'm like, you know what? This is a nice day to fly. Really, really beautiful. I looked on the TFR. We're under restriction. Oh, they got the Toad Suck thing going. So
okay, toad suckers.
I know, toad suckers. So it's always important to look to make sure that something's not going on up in the air in your area, or a VIP's not coming through, because if you go up on your nice little paramotor that you spent $10,000 on, and someone catches you when you land, you're not only going to be fined, but they're going to take that away from you. It's going to be gone. Especially if it's going to be, especially if it's a president, you're gone. So be very careful.
History.
Be noshed. And we spend a lot of money. To us, this is a lot of money. This is the cheapest way to fly. The next one up is PPC, which is powered parachute. And the next one up is just GA, like you have your, ultralight airplanes.
Yep.
But I think that the next level up that's a little bit more expensive is PPC, and then your regular ultralights, and then your little ones with the blades. The gyrocopters, I think, are the next step up before you go to GA. So for all the people out there that may or may not know, ultralights, we fly under FAR 103. That means that we are not certified aircraft. And as long as our aircraft, if it's motorized, if it's under 254 pounds, we can fly it without a license and under really not very strict rules and regulations. If we're flying without a motor, if it's under 155 pounds, what is it?
I don't know that answer.
Yeah, that does sound right.
If it's not motorized, it's supposed to be under 155 pounds. And then if it's motorized, it's 254 pounds. I think that's right. So as long as you can get the weight underneath 254 pounds, you can pretty much fly anything that you want to without a GA license. Now, since Will does teach or has taught in the past, what does it take to get a general aviation's license to fly an aircraft that's certified?
Well, you have to have a minimum of 40 hours of flight. 20 hours has to be with an instructor. That right there is hugely expensive. But here's the kicker. Very, very few people do it in 40 hours. And so you're talking about 40 hours of renting an airplane, which I don't know what it is today. When I was instructing, it was $50 an hour for the instructor. And I want to say $125 an hour for the airplane, somewhere thereabouts.
Did you have to? What did they have to pay for gas too, or that 125 was gas and?
Yeah, that was all inclusive there.
Okay.
And so I had a friend ask me not too long ago if he was considering getting his pilot's license, and he's already a paramotor pilot. And he asked me if he thought it would be worth it for him, to do that. And I gave it some thought, and really my answer surprised me that I didn't think that it would be cost effective for him to do that. I didn't think that he would get the same enjoyment out of flying an airplane as he does a paramotor, because I know this guy, right? I know he wants the feeling of flight. And I know he doesn't have an ambition to go on and get a commercial pilot or flight instructor or any higher rating. He just was thinking about. So that's what I told him. I said that I didn't think it would be worth the money. I think if he wants the feeling of flight, man, a paramotor is where it's at. I mean, when I started flying or wanted to fly airplanes, I wanted it because I wanted the feeling of flight. And I've got thousands of hours in airplanes. Never have I felt that same feeling as I do in a paramotor. So I'm not ragging on GA. I love airplanes, obviously, but if the sole purpose was to achieve that feeling of just being out there in nature and flying and floating along, I mean, yeah, it's not the same when you've got a bunch of aluminum. You're sitting in an aluminum can. So that's just
I guess we can do a cost analysis real quick. A really good paramotor, about $5,000. Really good wing, about $3,500. Instructor, between $1,500 and $3,500 for instruction. And you can put everything in your car, put everything in your garage. We have We have somebody that packs up everything in a smart car. We call him Smart Car Brian because he can put his paramotor and his wing in his smart car, drive wherever he wants to, and fly a paramotor. Okay. So very inexpensive. You don't have yearly inspections. Oh yeah, Will. How much are yearly inspections? I mean, what does that usually go through?
Oh, no, there's okay. That's another thing. See, I could have bought an airplane, but
Right.
and that's why I got into paramotoring. I wanted to get back into some form of aviation, but I did not want the headache of owning an airplane. You go in for an inspection, and it's not the inspection. If it was just the cost of an inspection, that'd be great. They always find something. And so how much, I don't know, but I can tell you it ain't cheap. So I mean, it's not a little a two-stroke motor you're dealing with.
What maybe just give us a roundabout thing. Just is it like $5,000, $100,000? I mean, what does it cost for like inspection and getting something fixed? I don't know, about average.
Sean, honestly, I couldn't tell you now. Even when I was flying, I didn't handle the maintenance part of it. The maintenance, the aviation department handled that. So I really don't know what a base inspection would cost.
But it's a lot.
Tell you, I have heard a lot of pilots complain about what's been found in the inspection, A, and B, how much it's going to cost them, and C, the downtime that's involved while it's being repaired. So I don't know.
So it's a lot more than $100 maintenance on a Moster 185.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a little breakdown if you're looking at GA, and this is like Will said, this is based on you actually got all the training that you needed in that 40 hours. If you got that, you're looking about $10,000 to have your license, and that's in a Cessna 150, about $12,000 if you got everything in that time frame, and that's on a 172. A particular person that I was talking to that gave me this information, she had a part on her landing gear that she needed to have replaced, and all it was a pin, and they had to order that pin from the manufacturer. All it was a stainless steel pin. The pin was $300, and it was about the same to have a aviation mechanic push the pin in and put the key in it. That's honest to God, it's outrageously priced, when I'm sure that the manufacturer went to Ace Hardware, picked up the stainless steel pin, and mailed it up to the mechanic.
Probably feel like that.
Right. So it is expensive. Anything that has the word aviation on it, the price gets jacked up.
Especially if it's all certified. I mean, this is all certified stuff. Yep. Because we are under FAR 103 and we're under Ultralights. This is not certified. So we are kind of all just test pilots, test piloting stuff that's not certified. Now, when we say not certified, we're talking about FAA not certified. However, people that are making this and making our wings are certifying it the best of their ability to make it as safe as possible for us ultralight pilots. So don't think, oh my God, what does this mean? We're going to go up there and we could just, follow the sky? Well, I guess you could with the commercial airplane too, but that's why all of us paramotor pilots, we are also two-stroke mechanics.
Yeah.
Even if we don't want to be, we will become one. Absolutely. Now, Eric, you foot launch and you trike. Since you do both, tell us what you started with, the transition, what you like more, or the conditions that you fly trike and foot launch.
Yeah, so I started with foot launch, and when I almost was completed with my foot launch training, I pulled a muscle in my leg, and it was painful to finish my last 3 or 4 flights. And I knew at that time that I didn't want to be stuck not being able to fly. And at that time, right around that time frame, we were ordering a trike for Jade. So I told our instructor, let's go ahead and get 2 trikes because I didn't want to be without. So we went ahead and ordered both trikes, and then we waited for them. They finally came in, and Jay did her training, and I asked my instructor, I said, I want to now get my training in trike, and it was super easy for the transition. You're basically, instead of using your feet to go left and right to stay underneath your wing, you use your steering with your feet to steer that front wheel to stay underneath the wing. So it was an easy transition. Now, I use the trike in the wintertime when I'm flying because I don't want to slip on the ice. The summertime, I will use the foot launch, and I'll fly around with that. There's some situations where foot launch is a lot of fun. And if you're going to go up into the sky and play around, it is fun to do that on foot launch. If you're going to go up in the sky and just putt along, it's the trike is the way to go. So it depends on what I feel like doing that day. It depends on if I want to be, I don't want to say lazy, but you don't have to run with a trike.
Lazy.
I mean, it's fun. I will say this. If you are physically capable of foot launch, stay as long as you can with foot launch, only because once you get to the point where you can't foot launch and you are forced to trike, unless something happens that's a miracle, like you get younger, then you can't go back to foot launch. So I try to make sure I keep my foot launch skills available because I definitely do go back and forth with each one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have to say that's really interesting, Eric. I've been listening to everything that you've been saying because I always had questions about, because everybody talked about foot launch, and I was like, so foot launch is basically, that is the paramoting. Foot launch is when you have the paramotor on your back and you're getting ready to take off and you're running down the field. Is that what they call that foot launching, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the foot launch. So you wear it on your back and you run into the sky.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the trike is like you're sitting in a go-kart. It's either a 4-wheel or a 3-wheel. Your wheel, if it's a 3-wheel, you have one wheel in the front. And you accelerate with your throttle, you bring the wing up, and then you just steer with your feet and it'll slowly lift you into the air. So
Wow.
A lot of the tandems are trike or wheel launch.
Okay.
And there's a few that do foot launch tandems. I think the tandem on a trike is a little safer. And I don't say that because statistically showing it is safer. I'm saying that because you have to have a lot of experience to do a foot launch tandem. So
you're literally a foot launch tandem. You're literally
you're both running together.
You're running with the trike. You have the trike, and you're literally standing up and you're running.
No, foot launch is just your feet. Foot launch is just feet. Trike is with wheels. Trike is with wheels. Foot launch is foot.
So you can't get on your trike and do foot launching. Is that what you're saying? That's two different.
No, it's two different things.
Okay, gotcha.
So when you tandem foot launch,
that's what I'm saying. Tandem foot launch. Yeah.
Both people are actually running into the air. So there's no wheels. And when they land, they land. And this is only for exceptional pilots that do this. So, and they make it look very easy.
You could break your leg, I think, if you didn't know.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the actual pilot that's taking the passengers in back, and he has to watch a lot more things. He's watching his wing, he's watching his throttle control, he's watching your feet to see where you're running. I mean, it's talent. It's definitely talent.
Yeah.
Foot launch tandem. I have never seen one yet. Yeah, and I agree with you. You got to have some talent to do that. but it is so hard to make that look cool.
Savannah has done
It kind of looks just kind of odd, the two pairs of feet running along there. I guess one runs skinny, one runs long, but yeah. Have you ever done a tandem foot launch? Anyone?
Savannah and Jade have both done foot launch tandems with one of our instructors here in Wisconsin. And I think he's the only one here in Wisconsin that does foot launch tandem.
That was one of the first things I did. I was foot launch passenger back in 2019. That's how I'm like, well, this is it. This is what I want to do.
So you took discovery flight first before so that's another important thing.
Yes.
To take a flight first, see if it's really something you want to do. So you took a discovery flight first, and then you decided this is.
Then I already knew, but when I went there, I'm like, oh my God, amazing. This is it. I don't care what it takes. I will do everything and anything to be able to do this. Yeah, I loved it.
And here you are.
And here I are. Absolutely. Well, so Eric, you have an actual foot launch paramotor, and you actually have a tandem. I'm sorry, not tandem, but a trike paramotor. So you have two paramotors, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And you have two different wings, or a single wing that you fly with both?
I actually have a few wings, but I fly my trike and my foot launch are on the same wing. I do have another trike that's actually on order, and it's on its way, and it is a tandem trike because Jade and I are going for our instructors. So we will be able to do take passengers up also on a introductory lesson. So Linda.
Very cool. I know. I knew my name was going to come. I was waiting. I'm like, okay, I'm like 1, 2, 3, Linda.
Right. And just so happens we have a fly-in that we go to that is 45 minutes away from Linda's house. So hopefully we will be able to get her out there and give her the experience of what we all feel. So
that would be awesome.
Pretty exciting.
And there's also another way of doing this PPG. You can do the foot launch, and then you can actually add on a trike. There's a couple different, there's a lot of different trike extensions, trike platform. I don't know how they actually call them, but your trike, Eric, is an actual paramotor trike. Does not separate. It's not a foot launch and a trike separately. It's one machine. It'll never be a foot launch, right?
Yeah, it's a dedicated machine with an engine. A lot of the foot launch units have accessories that you can bolt on the wheels or strap on the wheels, and they basically they can convert back and forth fairly easy, and it gives you the foot launch feeling with wheels when you're flying. It feels like a foot launch.
Yes, and that's what I have. So I can foot launch, I can trike, and I can do either or with that same paramotor. So I have one engine, one paramotor, but I can bolt on my trike, which means I can go trike if I want to. Let me tell you the reason why I like to trike, and the reason why I think having the accessory to be able to trike with your foot launch. How many times have you gone to a fly-in and the wind where you are right here, right? You got the line where you have to cross, and then you become, then you're in the LZ, right? And the wind is coming from the wrong direction. So you have to go all the way over to the other side to be able to launch this way to where you guys are. Let me tell you how easy it is to do that on a trike. You get on the trike, you have your wing bag right on top of you, and use your feet to steer, and you just go all the way over to the other side, set up, and go fly. That is the reason why I think that everybody should have a retractor trike or something that you can bolt on your foot launch paramotor. It's amazing. I mean, I love it. I mean, how, over at fly-ins, what do you like to do, Eric? Do you like to foot launch or do you like to trike?
Well, when we were at Bad Apples, I enjoyed doing the trike because of the fact that it's such a huge field, and we're always trying to stay out of the way of everybody else. So when the wind was coming from certain directions, we did the trike because we ended up going there a week early, and I was able to foot launch and go around and see all of the Georgia area there that we were at, and it was enjoyable doing both. But it's during the fly-in we did the trike. Now when we went to Moonshiners, you're at such a high elevation that the wing doesn't have as much lift, the prop doesn't bite as much, so you really have to run, and that really saved us as far as being able to launch without failed launches because of the trikes. So that was good, having a trike at Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome too. Here's something too. What paramotor should you get? If you don't know, if you haven't flown different paramotors, how do you know what paramotor to get unless you ask like an instructor? Can you imagine before you went to your school or started learning this, you just got your paramotor and wing off the internet? I mean, what would you get? How would you even judge? Will Fly, he started off with the Atom 80. Is that correct? A Atom 80, or was it a?
Yeah, Atom 80 and a Mac Charger.
And you flew that for a couple of years, and then you went to a Moster 185.
Yep, and Power to Fly Titan, and yeah, but it's funny how that's normal. So I can't judge somebody for thinking that way, because the first thing that I thought of when I decided I was going to get into this sport is, okay, what motor do I need? What wing do what's the equipment that I need? That's just kind of, I guess, the natural progression. But it would have been a mistake. I had no idea, and I could look at something, and I had no understanding of the sport, and charts and weights and things like that. So that's where the instructor comes in super, super handy. And I firmly believe that nobody should get, without an instructor and instructor involvement, get any gear on their own, for especially their first wing, their first motor, because that can cost you a lot of money.
Exactly. Totally agree. How about as far as wings? If you went out and you could buy a used wing or a new wing, or a new motor or a used motor, right now with the skills that you have, would you go out and buy a used wing, or would you stick with buying new wings?
I would buy new because I can. And I wouldn't say that I would never buy used, because I would if I knew the person and I thoroughly trusted that person and their reputation. So yeah, I just bought a new motor and a new wing.
Why? Why? But why would you need to know that person? And this, of course, this is a loaded question, because I want people to think about this, especially people that are out there right now that are thinking about getting into paramotoring, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go buy a used wing. Okay, so let's talk with Will real quick, and we'll talk with Eric, and then we'll talk with, I guess I'll talk with myself about new and used wings. Why would you need to know this person, Will, inside and out, know if they're honest or not, and know about them, their reputation, before you buy a used wing?
Yeah, well, even if I was first starting out, I probably wouldn't know anybody anyway. So I would have no way of judging the guy's reputation.
Exactly.
Because I mean, with a wing, for example, someone could say that, yeah, it's got 20 hours on it and it's only 6 months old. Well, in reality, it might only be 6 years old, but it has 200 hours on it, and I wouldn't have the eye or the knowledge to be able to distinguish the difference, to be able to tell the difference without it being inspected.
And since that is what holds you up, that's what keeps you safe. There's those lines and that wing above your head. You need to know about that wing. Real quick, my first year of flying, I flew over 300 hours that first year, brought a brand new wing. After 300 hours, a couple of SIV clinics, I sent it in, right? Still, is it 2019? Still sending it in 2019. They failed the wing. It was still crispy. The riser still looked brand new. Everything looked brand new, but they failed the wing because the lines were stretched and they snapped at a lower breaking point. I had to replace the lines. But even though it was a brand new 2019 wing, still crispy, it still smelled brand new. If I would have sold that to somebody and somebody went out flying, they tried to do some acro, a line could have snapped, and that was the same year. Can you imagine buying a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old wing? I can't imagine. How about you, Mr. Eric? What kind of wing would you buy? Would you buy a brand new one or a used one? And if you bought a used one, what kind of things would you have to look for to get that used wing?
So I agree with Will. You kind of have to know where that wing is coming from. You can send a wing in before you purchase it if they're going to allow you to do that and have a porosity test done, and that's to see how much air actually flows through the material. That's going to an extreme. But if you get a wing and they say, hey, this is a 2020 wing, you got to make sure you look at that manufacture date and it doesn't say 2010. Make sure that it's, they're not fibbing to you. And if somebody that owned that wing before you was doing acro, yeah, those lines are going to be stretched. I think we had this on our discussion on a Tuesday show, and that is, both Mark and Will, I would buy wings from them because they replace their wings after 100 hours or 150 hours. I would have no problem flying a wing like that. I know their flying style, and I know that they take care of their wing. They don't leave it out in the sun and let the UV rays deteriorate the wing. So, and also the biggest thing is you got to remember this is what is keeping you alive. The engine will put you up there and it could die and it's going to bring it down. The wing will bring it down slowly. This is the safest form of flight, and you have to make it as safe as you can make it. And that is, there's nothing wrong with buying used equipment. Just make sure that it is coming from a reputable person and it is a well taken care of wing. If you get a wing and the leading edge is all chewed up from dragging it on the ground or asphalt or anything like that, you don't want that wing. That wing is used up. If the wing is very soft, like your bed sheet, you don't want that wing. That wing has been had a lot of hours on it.
Absolutely. And that's another thing, unfortunately, before you start flying is you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what to look for when it comes to wings and motors. Even when it comes to motors, the first motor that I bought, it was a Moster 185, but it was a classic. I basically bought it really inexpensive, but the first thing I did with it is I did 100-hour maintenance and basically learned every part of the motor before I even took my first flight on it. And that's another thing. When you go to school, you get to learn about taking care of this two-stroke motor, learn, how to replace and how to fix carburetors and just general maintenance on it too. How much maintenance has Eric and Will done on their motor, and how much have they learned? Let's go ahead and ask them real quick. Who wants to go first about two-stroke motor maintenance?
I'll go again first because mine's
Okay.
going to be quick. I am very unmechanically inclined, so I can change a spark plug and I can do some basic stuff. But I found somebody who knows the motor inside and out. He's a professional mechanic, and I let him service my motor, which there's nothing wrong with that as far as I see it. I mean, it's getting the proper maintenance, and I know it's being done right. At some point, though, I do have an interest in learning, maybe watching him as he's taking things apart and stuff. Yeah, that's how I handle my maintenance.
So your maintenance is strictly what you do hands-on is replacing the spark plug. And when you do that, how many hours?
When it starts to give me problems.
Oh.
That's it. I don't fix it. I don't do it every 10 hours or whatever. When it starts to, I get that feeling, it's time to, let's go ahead and change it. If it ain't broke, I don't fix it.
Okay. So really quick, when it comes to pre-flight, what do you do to pre-flight your engine then?
To pre-flight my motor, you talked about before warming up and stuff like that. I first of all, I look at it as a whole and look for anything that doesn't look right. And I'm not looking for specific things. I'm just, there's anything off, there's something not quite look right. Then I'll go through, I'll check the air box. I'll check the spring on the throttle, the cap on the plug, make sure the vent is clear on the filler fuel cap. That's I'm sure I'm missing a lot of things. I spend a lot of time looking at my motor. Here, let me say one other thing about that. I keep my motor really, really clean. And if you keep your motor clean, you have a lot better chance of finding things like a cracked exhaust mount, which I have found before. And that's because I was cleaning it, and that's when I noticed it. But if you keep your motor clean, you got a real good shot at finding things that don't look right. Whether you can fix it or not, that a big crack down the plate's not right. So I of course check the prop, the leading edge of the prop, make sure there's nicks, cracks, anything that could impede my fun flight.
Absolutely. Do you check the torque on any of your bolts, nuts, or screws?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
okay.
Like the head nuts. Yeah, I do have a torque wrench and learned all about Newton meters, and I had no idea what a freaking Newton meter was before I started.
Exactly. Or foot pounds, depending on which way you do it.
Or translating between the two, and
right. Okay, so you do a lot of stuff on your motor, but when it comes to actually taking it apart and doing your 20 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours, you let somebody professional do it.
I do. I mean, when it came time to rebuild my carburetor, I bought a new carburetor.
Exactly. I agree. I do the same thing. I will keep the old carburetor for my students to take apart and learn. But when it comes down to it, after a year, I'll just replace. I mean, $250 for a carburetor?
Yeah,
sure.
No really important function. And
yeah,
things can get off just a little fraction of a whatever, and it screws everything up.
So and that's the cheap insurance.
Yeah, right. Did you see Brian's comment?
No.
He said, if you can only afford one thing new, buy a new wing. You need to fly. The motor just gets you up in the air. So yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely. Eric, how much two-stroke do you do?
So I do all my own maintenance on both Jade and my machines. I don't trust anybody else working on my stuff, and I do have a very strong mechanical background though. As far as I see a lot of people in there, change your spark plug, and I have 100 hours on my motor. I've never changed a spark plug. When you're going to have problems with it. It's hard starting, yada, yada. And if it's going to fail in mid-flight, you could have a brand new plug that fails in mid-flight. So I change the plugs as like Will said, when I start having a problem, I'll change it. I haven't changed plugs in any of my machines. And I think I got like 100 hours on one. So, but actually we're going to be going down to Florida and doing a 200-hour service on Shane's motor. And we will be doing a video on that. We will be rebuilding a carburetor, checking, the pop-off pressure and making sure that's all good. Yeah, I will do all of the maintenance myself on all of our machines. It is very easy to do. It's just somebody needs to show you how to do it, and anybody can do it. So when it comes to that, hopefully the video that Shane makes will be something that's educational, and it'll kind of teach people how to do the 200-hour service. And we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Just want to say thank you, Nick Griffith, that donated $5 in the super chat. By the way, buddy, you did win a shirt last week. I need your address, so text me or message me or something, and let me know where you want that sent and what size, please. As far as me and my maintenance, I do it all myself. Number one, I have to, because I need to teach my students how to do it. So I got an Atom 80 and I got a Moster 185 that I break down, and basically we'll break it down, show all the pieces, put it back together, and watch it work. I replace the seals pretty often, only because when I have new students, it's easy to go through and place the seals. I take off the head every 5 or 10 hours, and I just scrub the head down, make sure that little exhaust port is clear, and I show my students how to do that. When you lose a little bit of performance, you change out that spark plug, which I do every 10 hours or so, because they're so cheap. It's like $2 over at O'Reilly's or any AutoZone. They're really inexpensive for the Moster 185, also for the Atom 80s. And it's really easy just to break everything down. I get lots of the copper bolts, the one-time use that you can use maybe 2 or 3, but once they don't catch anymore, you got to let them go. They're supposed to be one time, but I think they can be used like 3 or 4 times. But when it comes to the issues that I've had in the past when I first started flying, it was always my spark plug. Something always happened with the spark plug. And I found that changing it out every 10 hours, I have no more issues with that. Once a year, I change out all of the fuel lines. I change out my carabiners, meaning I buy new carabiners. I buy new dog bones, the ones that wrap around and the carabiners hook onto. Those are the dog bones. I replace those once a year. I know you don't have to, but they are so inexpensive. And these are the failure points that could fail. Why would I want something that could fail when it takes $20 to replace them, $30 for 2 carabiners, and a couple bucks for a spark plug? Those are your failure points. Take care of, get those things taken care of. I also bring a little tool bag with me when I fly. The motor outs that I've had were always something that were really easy to take care of. I keep little zip ties with me and little scissors so I can zip tie things. Sometimes things break. I have another set of or 1 or 2 bolts just in case one shears off. I had one time that one of my prop bolts sheared and flew off. Now I didn't go through the prop because it's already on the other side of the prop. But when I landed at one of our XCs, I went through before I started. I'm like, holy crap, I'm missing a bolt. Took a bolt, put it in, torqued it in, and I was ready to go. So as far as I know the time, look at it, it's 8:30. Who needs to go? Do we need to go anytime soon? Pretty soon? Before 9 o'clock? Another half an hour?
I'm good.
You're good for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm good for a little bit.
All right. For a little bit longer. What's that?
How about the bag, Sean? I totally had not thought about the bag, the extra, bag for the wing.
And most new wings come with two bags. They normally come with the big bag, the big stuff sack, and then the bag that the wing comes in all folded about this big in that little bag. Well, what I do is I keep that little bag wrapped up and in another pocket in my paramotor. One time when I landed out because my starter didn't start after we landed on an XC. That's when we went over and flew from Hazen down to Stuttgart and went around the boneyard, the airplane boneyard. I went back to start it up, and the starter went poop, and it was gone. And I wadded up my wing, stuffed in a little stuff bag, and then when everybody came back to save me, it was easy. I didn't have to worry about a bag. And also, too, if you don't have one of those little bags, 55-gallon black trash bag, it rolls up really, really super tiny. You can put it in any pocket. Hell, you can put it in your back pocket before you go. It's always good to have an emergency wing bag. And what do you think, guys, as far as emergency wing bag in case you land out?
That's super important because I've landed out twice, and both times I didn't have a way to store the wing. Other than in the back of a pickup while I'm holding on to it.
Eric, have you ever had a motor out, or you had a land out where you had to, wad up your wing someplace?
Yep, I was flying along, and all of a sudden it started raining, so I landed, and I didn't have a wing bag. And like Will said, it was in the back of a pickup truck while he's going down the highway. You're trying to keep this thing from inflating and yanking you off, but I do now, because of that instance, I do now fly with the wing bag, and on the trike, I'll put it underneath me and it acts as a cushion. So, and in the foot launch, I'll put it underneath the storage that's in the, that's under the seat.
That's good. That's awesome. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that hopefully we went through and covered in this little short hour and a half podcast that maybe you didn't know about, maybe you didn't think about, keeping some tools with you. And what kind of tools do you keep? Here's something. So what kind of tools do you keep on you if you paramotor and you think that you might land out? Will, Eric, do you keep a little tool bag with you? And if you do, what do you have with you?
I don't. Don't forget, though, I was coming from an Atom 80. And I tried to keep the weight down as much as I possibly could. No excuse, I probably should. But even to this day, I don't. I do have tools, but I have them in the back of my car.
Right.
Yep. Same here. I don't carry tools with me per se. I think the tools that I carry are my water inflatables, and because where I fly, and boy, I tell you what, I don't want to say I'm unprepared, but I really watch my outs. The one mechanical failure that I did have was at Bad Apples when my throttle cable came off of my throttle arm, and I landed out in, I don't know what kind of field it was, cotton maybe, I don't know. And I went and was able to put my throttle cable back together and relaunch out of the field. So that was my only mechanical out, and I've taken care of that problem.
If you were to land out, what kind of tools do you think that you would need to take care of most reasons why you would land out?
I found a screwdriver that's like, I think they call it like an 8-way or a not 10-way or whatever. It has kind of like socket size fittings on there. It has the normal sizes, the 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8. Then it has Phillips regular screwdriver. It has the number 2 square head. It's kind of a handy tool. Mm-hmm. Or, if somebody carries a Leatherman with you, because then you have the pliers on top of, some of those other things. I think the best tool to have is a cell phone, because if you're having a mechanical problem where you're actually coming down it may not be something you can fix with a Leatherman or a screwdriver. So always keep some form of communication.
That's good, and always make sure that you have some sort of way of recharging your phone, just in case you are flying around having a good time, and now you're down to 3%. You're able to plug into something and charge your phone. How about you, Will? If you were to land out, what tools do you think would be good to carry?
Well, based on what happened on my first landing out, I needed to either change the spark plug. So do you carry an extra spark plug with you?
I carry a spark plug and a spark plug tool. Yes.
Okay. So either that, or I would have needed to make, which I think was the case, a slight adjustment to the carb. And I didn't have a tiny, the tiny little screwdriver you would need to make that adjustment. So at the very least, I guess, a way of changing a spark plug and a set of screwdrivers.
I have a 8mm, 10, and a 13 wrench that I keep in there because that's pretty much all of my nuts and bolts that I have on there. I keep a small screwdriver that I can pull out this way and put in, so I got the flathead on one side and Phillips on the other. That way I can pretty much adjust everything. I keep zip ties with a little cutter. That way I can zip tie anything that may need to be cut. And the little cutter is like a little scissors type of thing.
Allen wrenches.
What's that?
Allen wrenches, a set of Allen wrenches.
Yeah, I don't carry any Allen wrenches with me. Maybe I should, but I haven't had that issue yet, thank God. So the reason why I carry those is because I had a couple of outs. Let me tell you about my outs and what happened and how I fixed them and was able to relaunch. I really haven't had, except for when my exhaust exploded and went through my prop and I had to land out, I was able to fix all my other problems and relaunch. All right. One of my issues was I ran out of gas. Well, I didn't run out of gas. What happens, I have two tanks. So I have the main tank, and then the second tank, all right, will be drawn into the main tank. Well, for some reason, there was a little bit of an air suction, or it wasn't clipped on there tight. It was kind of an old fuel line. So I ran out of gas for my main tank, but my second tank was full. So when I landed, what I did is I cut that fuel line, pushed it down all the way and zip tied it around, and that way it would draw into the main tank. Took off and flew. I can't remember the other times, but.
So with all the weight and tools, do you have to add that into the total weight of your machine to get that 254 pounds or whatever it is?
Under the FR 103 and our ultralight rules and regulations and laws, if your machine with, I can't remember if it's with gas or without gas, is under 254 pounds, that doesn't include, I don't think it includes gas, and it does not include safety. Like if you had a reserve, the air floats like you have. So if my air floats are 50 pounds and my reserve is 50 pounds, no, it's not really 50 pounds, but that doesn't count towards the 254 pounds. Actually, I think they give you 30 pounds for emergency equipment. I think it's up to like 30 pounds, but I don't think it's specified under the FR 103. And the tools and stuff, I think that would be part of it, but can you imagine a 254 pound foot launch? I don't think a couple pounds of tools really makes any difference. When I launch with 5 gallons, which is 6 pounds per gallon. So it's 30 pounds extra that I launch with every time I launch. The tools are less than a pound. I mean, think about it. It's just 3 wrenches, a screwdriver, a bunch of zip ties, and a scissors. You know, it's really nothing there. The bag is so light. I don't even think it really weighs much. I mean, think about it. It's like one of those really small wing bags. It doesn't weigh much at all. It takes a little bit of space because you got to wad it up. I mean, it takes space, but if I wanted to take off weight, I would go with one less gallon of gas. That's where I would lose most of my weight, is with the gallons of gas. I think it's important to have tools. I think it's important to have the safety equipment, like the air floats, especially if you're going to be flying over water, and a reserve. I mean, I personally like a reserve. I'd rather have it and not need it than to be going down for my last 30 seconds of life and going, God, why didn't I put that reserve on today?
Well,
Well,
Hey, I looked it up. So it's weighs less than 254 pounds, empty weight, so no fuel, excluding floats and safety devices, which are intended for deployment in a potentially catastrophic situation. So in that situation, then the tools would count as part of the 254 pounds. But the floats would not, that's a deployment, yeah, and the reserve would not.
Right.
Is that kind of how you understand it?
that sounds right. Yes.
Read it.
If you ever, I mean, if you're so close to 254 pounds that you're worried about going over, you're probably on a trike. So I don't think that we really have to worry too much about foot launch. And the power between the Atom 80 that you had before and the 185, the Moser 185 that you have, and you weigh about 175? You said, Will?
No, 150.
You weigh 150.
150.
You weigh 150. You have a 185, Moser 185 on you. At what weight do you think that Moser 185 would not be able to lift you up off the ground?
I don't have any idea, but I hope I'll never ever approach that in my lifetime.
Right. So I mean, even if you had 5 pounds of gas, you had a reserve and you had a toolbox, you could still run and get off the ground probably pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And how much fuel do you usually use when you're going? Do you top off your tanks?
I top off my tanks all the time because I want to eventually do an Icarus race. So when I fly, I try to max out the most weight I can every single time so I can get the skill that I'll need to get whenever they do the Icarus race after this COVID thing's over.
Right. Well, that was one of my concerns, that I wasn't going to, because I knew I was going to burn more fuel than the Atom 80, and I still have that. Has not happened yet, but it probably will. But I was concerned that my flights, I would need to carry a lot more fuel in the Moster so that because my flights are about an hour and a half long in the summer. So I thought that was going to be an issue, but it wasn't. So I always put in 8 liters of fuel.
Which is about 2 gallons of gas-ish,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. So, and yeah, that hasn't affected I'm confident that if I topped that tank up, topped it off, that I would have no problem.
Okay.
I was going to say, with the tool issue and the fuel issue, I think that really depends on what your flying style. So Sean, I know you fly. I mean, you go up and you don't come down until you're sucking fumes for hours. And when we fly, we'll fly for half hour to an hour and a half at the most. And, we're coming down, but we're going from basically our airport. We'll tool around there for a little bit, and then we'll go over to another pretty familiar place. So, our flying styles are a little different. And yeah, we don't top off our fuel. I topped off my fuel tank once and realized that I only used like 4 liters of fuel, and I didn't have to fill it up for the next 3 flights.
Right. Well, I mean, I go up, I have 5 gallons with my flying style will last a little over 2.5 hours. However, I make my flight a 2-hour flight. So I always have an extra half an hour of oops gas to get me back in case there's a headwind change. I land out because, or I XC myself. It's like, oh, look at that. That's really cool. I want to go there. So I land there, and then I decide, oh shoot, I got to get back, and it's taking me a little bit longer because there's a headwind. So I always have an extra half an hour of oop gas because I don't want to run out of gas and land short of my LZ. So I do a lot of cross countries. I think my average flights are over 50 miles. Ground trekking when I fly. So I like to fly a lot, like to fly far and check things out.
Yeah, me too. I mean, sometimes I like to, most of my flying is just wandering around. But every once in a while, it feels good to like have a mission, like to go to a specific lake or specific field or so I just like to tool around for the most part. Do you do touch and goes?
Oh, yes, good. Let's talk about touch and goes. We got about 15 minutes left, and I'm glad that you said something about touch and goes. Before that, I would like to say that when I start my flying mission on my XCs, I always look at the wind direction and I always fly into the wind. So depending on which way the wind's coming is depending on which way I'm heading out first. And I'm always going into the wind. That way on the way back, my ground speed is like 70 miles an hour and it's so fun. But yeah, touch and goes. What is considered a touch and go? What is considered a flight? If you take off and fly and come in for a landing, obviously that's one flight. But if you go up, come in and do a touch and then keep on going and go, was that a flight? And did it stop? And is this a second flight? What is a touch and go? And how long do you have to be on the ground for that touch to be considered a landing before you go up around again? So that is what we're going to be talking about right now. Touch and go. What is a flight? When does it end? When does it start? Will, what is to you, what is a flight? Is a flight when you start and then you land? Is a touch and go start as a flight? Is that a landing?
Well, are you asking the old Will or the new Will?
Let's just ask you now. Let's just ask you now since you are the new Will.
Okay, well, remember, I came from a flying background, okay?
Right.
And a touch and go from an instructor's point of view is counted as a separate flight. And so that's where I was coming from. And I know that in the past we had discussed this, and right. I think your stance, Sean, is that a touch and go is not a separate flight. It's part of the same flight. And I had given that a lot of thought, not intentionally, but some things just kind of enter the back of your head and all of a sudden you formulated a completely opposite view of it. There is an important distinction to make. When you're flying an airplane and you're doing a touch and go, the wing is no longer capable of supporting its weight. It is no longer creating lift. Right. When you're doing a touch and go on a paramotor, that wing is still flying. It has not stopped flying. If it has, well, you're not going to be doing a touch and go.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that the touch and go is meaningless. And I'm not saying that. The touch and go serves a good purpose. You're getting practice with the flare and practice landing and all, but it is not a separate flight. It is a touch and go. So I went back through my personal log and I log every single flight that I've ever made. Not that we have to or that it's a requirement, but who knows, maybe someday it might be and they might want some records. I don't know. But 8%, less than 8% of my landings are touch and goes. Mostly they're full landings. So by that, I mean that the wing was on the ground when I started and the wing hit the ground when I finished. That's a flight.
I agree.
Other words, here's the other thing. Other words, by the line of reasoning that a touch and go would count as a separate flight, man, every time I did a foot drag, I'd get 10 or 20 flights. right? All I did was my leg and it just touched the ground. It'd be like 10 freaking flights, man.
Right, but what if you come in for a touch and go, right? You got some good breeze, maybe it's good 8 mile an hour steady laminar wind, and you come in, right? And then you stop. You're just kiting it, right? Then you give it some gas, you start going. I still think that that's considered a touch and go. This is what I think we should do as paramotors, because it's not a fixed wing. When you let that wing come off the ground, right? No matter what you do, when you land, it touches the ground. Now, that's one flight. However, keep track of your touch and goes during your flight. So I think you should say this: I had 3 flights and I had 5 touch and goes.
Awesome.
So, I mean, or I had 1 flight and 10 touch and goes. Keep track of your touch and goes, but that 1 flight from the wing touching the ground and then touching the ground again, that's the 1 flight. But keep track of your touch and goes. Keep track of your foot drags. Keep touch of the, I landed and I just stood there and I kited the wing for 5 minutes and then I took off again, but wing touched the ground up in the air. When it touches the ground, that's 1 flight. I think personally as a paramotor pilot.
It makes perfect sense for this sport. It absolutely does. When something's going to go wrong on a launch, it's probably going to go wrong right as that wing starts coming up. I mean, that's the experience that I would consider part of a complete flight, So, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Touch and goes are not meaningless. They're valuable.
It's very valuable.
And
Keep
it's a
track
way
of
of
them.
getting some good experience quickly without having to go through the whole setup process. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, how about this? One of the things I was doing before my incident with my Roadster 3 is I would come in, right, land like this, right, let the wing fall back, and then I would run forward, inflate it, and go again while the motor was still on. One time it came back, the gust brought it to my exhaust and burnt a big hole in it. I'm like, well, I will never do that again.
You were going to say you turtled.
No. I have turtled in the past, but no, that wasn't the time. So I don't let it fall back and then relaunch again like that. That was an expensive touch and go or land and go. I don't know what to call it. How about you guys in the chat? What do you think? What is considered a flight for paramotors? Do touch and goes count as flights, or should we count the whole flight and touch and goes separately? Eric, what do you think, bud?
I think that when that wing, like Will says, when that wing loses lift, that's a flight. When you're running with it, that's just a continuation of the flight you started when you do a touch and go. They are valuable. And it teaches you that muscle memory of your flares. It also teaches you, how fast you're going to be coming in. And there's a lot of value there. I just don't think that it should count when you do a touch and go as 2 flights. It was funny, Sean in the chat said he has millions. Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to count them, we all have a lot of flights. But I think when that wing loses its lift and can't fly anymore, then that's a flight.
Yeah, and it's not a competition. I mean,
no.
It's about having fun. Remember, I mean, there's always going to be someone who's got more flights than I do. I mean, I don't care. That's great. So it's just about personal achievement and my competition is myself. I'm just trying to get better at landing and better at takeoff, in particular no wind takeoffs. So yeah, it's all
and how long do you actually count your flights anyways? I stopped counting flights and then I started counting my 100-hour maintenance on my motors. So I don't count flights anymore. I count 100-hour maintenances. Now, after my sixth one, I don't even count my maintenance anymore. I'm just like, okay, I fly paramotors. I do a lot of cross countries, but I have no idea my flights. I don't understand. I don't know my times. I couldn't tell you how many flights I've taken, how many foot drags I've done, or how many touch and goes. I have no clue because every chance I get, every morning, every midday, every evening that's flyable, I go out there and fly. I know that there's been some weekends that I had to do a 25-hour maintenance because over the weekend I did 25 hours. I look at my gas tanks that I have. I got 4 5-gallon tanks, and it's not uncommon for me to go through all of those 5-gallon tanks that I have in my garage over the course of a week.
Wow, that's a lot of freaking flying.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah, you got you're on the trike though. You got what motor do you have?
I got the Motor 185.
Okay, well that's a lot of flying, man.
It's a lot of flying, which is why I do a lot of maintenance. That's why, it's like, I don't mind pulling out a spark plug every 10 hours and throwing it away and putting in a new one. I don't mind popping off that head every 10 hours, scrubbing off the head and make sure that little port's clear, because that clogs up quickly. And that's the biggest thing that I've noticed. Every 10 hours, take off the head, scrub the head, clean out that exhaust port, and change out the spark plugs. No problems. Oh my God, no problems at all. And then when I do my 100-hour maintenance or my 200-hour maintenance, the insides are great. I mean, it's amazing what that does. And I always do 50 to 1 modal 710. I always use more oil than necessary, and that keeps my parts better. 200 hours on my head, you can't even tell it's 200 hours on the head. I've seen a lot of 200-hour heads and they're like warped, or there's a big divot, because it overheated, or the rings, are wore out. Man, 200-hour heads and the rings look like they're freaking brand new. My bearings and stuff look really good too. That's something that you all need to remember. At 100 hours, change out the bearings. This one person didn't change it out, didn't do their 100-hour maintenance, and at 114-ish hours, one of the bearings broke loose, bounced around, came up, hit the head and the top of the thing, just divoted it to hell, and had to replace pretty much everything. Had to replace the head, had to replace the piston head. The walls had to be redone. It was a disaster, and it was a $5 part. The bearings.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, our parts are so cheap, and to me it's just worth spending $500 a year to replace. To do a good 500-hour maintenance, and that's including your dog bones, your carabiners, and spark plugs throughout the year. I mean, it's not that expensive. Will, like you said, having GA, having a real airplane, you're spending a lot of money with a real airplane.
Yeah. And thanks to the sport, I learned how to pronounce the word carabiner. I always called it a carabiner.
That's great.
Well,
Carabiner.
Well, that's funny. I mean, it depends on where you're from too, because we say aluminum, and over in Europe they say aluminium.
They
Aluminum.
do?
Yeah.
Aluminium. Yep. Aluminium.
Aluminum.
Hey, Walter.
Aluminum.
Aluminium.
What's up, Walter? You say aluminium down under?
Yeah, but I'm a bit Yankatized, so I say aluminum as well, and people look at you funny. But yeah, aluminium.
Yep, aluminium.
Can I just have a little poke on what you were saying about touch and goes and what you consider flights? For starters?
Absolutely, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Shane.
No, I'm Sean, not Shane. Good try. Just call me Grandpa. You'll never get me messed up. My name is Sean Simons, PPG Grandpa. You don't. I go by Shane if you want to. That's no problem. But call me call me Grandpa. You'll never mess up my name again.
And they all come together at me, and yeah, love yous all anyway. But guys, getting back to touch and goes and flights, really with an aircraft, when you start your engine, that's your flight, because you're in control of an aircraft. That the engine has started, you are in control from that moment. So whether you got your motor on your back and it's running, whether you got the kite up, that's your flight. Now, to me, it's not until you sit down and shut your motor off, land, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Touch and goes, they're all landings, because in a normal aircraft, you do a circuit. So doing a circuit, that's the whole procedure, and doing it right, you know, take off 500 feet, bank left, turn, climb to 1,000 feet and downwind, reduce your power, do your calls, all of that. And then you set up for landing from when you turn to base. And so you're in control, and a touch and go is simply just a landing. It's a procedure for you to know what you're doing in the circuit, climb out again, back to 1,000 feet. You know, I've done 11 or 12 in 1 hour, touch and goes. And it could be different. You can have a touch and go in the glide. So you're at 1,000 feet, you shut off your motor and you glide into the runway. So with a powered parachute, especially for me with wheels, I do count all of my landings as I do with any aircraft, because and touch and goes is considered a landing. So in normal practice, your landing gear, it is the most important part when you come into the runway. Now, in a PPG, you've got your legs, so you don't really have to count, apart from how many times you might injure yourself. You don't have to count your landings. But on a PPC or a trike, it would be good to keep your landings, because, you know, you've got suspension. Mine's a bit more sophisticated. I've got like a mountain bike type front end with suspension and disc brake. So I monitor my landings, and as we know, we have good ones and we have bad ones. And sometimes when we have a bad one, we've got to stop and, you know, inspect, maintain the machine and make sure that everything's still in one piece.
Now you fly a PPC, which is a powered parachute, a PPC, and Eric, you fly a trike PPG. Mark H, PPG trike jockey in the chat said, how about on a trike? What about a touch and taxi for several hundred feet to 100 yards before taking off again? A flight school counted this as a flight because it took more skill training, I guess. So as a PPC, you think that once your wheels land, even if you trike, even if you taxi, that's still considered one flight? Is that correct?
You're still in flight. Your chute's still up. Your chute's maintaining your direction, whatever.
You're still in flight.
It's the same with an aircraft. An aircraft, when the wheels touch on the ground, you are still considered flying, because your control services will move you either way. You know, your ailerons, your rudder, your elevator will affect you even on the ground. So it's considered you're still in flight. So that moment you're on the ground, and then instantly you repower, you might pull your flaps up, whatever you need, blah, 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 and go again. So you're always in control. The man is in control. The pilot is in control as soon as the engine starts.
So with your PPC, you have to have a pilot's license, and you actually have a N number, right? So do you have to, as a pilot, keep track of your actual flights?
Yes, I
okay.
do.
Eric?
Even though I'm sorry guys, even though I'm a PPC, because of my weight of the machine, the size, everything else, I'm in another category, which is almost like sports aircraft. That's why my machine, full flight, full fuel, me in it, get over 800 pounds.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. We work under the FAR 103. It's a little bit different with ultralights. Eric, since you fly trike, what do you think? Is that considered a flight when your wheels go off the ground, you come back around and you taxi? Is that still one flight? Or do you think, or would you count that as a flight with a touch and go?
So I'll be honest, I'm still stuck on the toad sucking thing. But I'll answer your question. So I think with the wing above you, until that wing falls, that wing is still flying. Now, back to Mark, that is incredible kiting skills. And
Exactly.
on a trike, that is very difficult. And a lot of people can't do that. But that is awesome training that, you're getting by being able to do that. And I would not take that away from anybody. If you can kite that wing down a runway and take back off, that is awesome. I mean, I watched Jay do that, and she's very good at kiting the wing with the trike. And it is actually it's like watching an orchestra. I mean, it's that's talent. So would I consider that a flight or a touch and go being two flights? No, but that is talent. Now, the reason that they did that in training is because they can count that as another flight to get you through the program. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our instructor did that also on touch and goes, was considered one of our 25 flights. But more importantly, the kiting skills that you're getting by doing exactly what you're doing, for 100 yards, that's amazing. So that's
why
awesome.
you should log, which is why you should keep a good log of that, because that is good experience.
Exactly. I guess the big thing is, what you do in school as far as when they do that touch and go for more than one flight, that's great for school. But I think once you leave school, maybe you should count each flight, and then a side note, 3 or 4, whatever touch and goes, or a 100-foot taxi, or whatever you're doing during that one flight. I think that's a little bit more accurate on what we're talking about as far as flying trike or foot launching. Because like I said, I could come in, right? Motor still on, let that wing fall behind me, and then go forward, inflate it, and take off again with my motor still on, right? So my motor was still on for 2 different flights. Was that 2 different flights? Was that considered a touch and go?
So did the wing touch the ground?
And the wing touched the ground, but my motor was still on.
Oh,
yeah,
so that's 2 flights.
That's 2 flights because that wing lost lift.
Yes, I agree. So wings that touch the ground, that's one flight. You can do taxis, you can do touch and goes, you can do foot drags, all sorts of cool things you can do during that one flight. But make note on that one flight, I did 3 touch and goes. I did a 100-yard taxi. I stopped and kited the wing for 5 minutes because I had good laminar air. I landed on a telephone pole with one foot and stood there for a moment. I landed and I walked up a camper and then I took off again. I mean, you're still at that one flight. But once again, after your first year of flying paramotors, I don't think that you're counting flights anymore. You're probably counting hour maintenances or, how many XCs you've done or something like that, because flights, they don't seem to mean anything to me anymore because I can't keep track. It's just way too many. What do you guys think?
I have not, since I left school, I'll be honest, I haven't kept track of my flights. I do have my hour meter on my machines. I do keep track of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't keep track of my flights.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you know that someone's done 100 hours? He may have only done 10. Over here we have a logbook. So the flight where you're going, where you taking off from, the time in up to tenths of a minute, so hour. So every 6 minutes is a tenth, and that's
Oh, yeah. Our machines, we have a little meter that keeps track of how many reps and how long the machine's been on. So yeah, you could actually probably have it on a rack and let it run for 20 hours. And you can say, look, my motor's been on for 20 hours. I've been flying for 20 hours, you know, so.
No, but basically, if your engine's on, let's say you're at 80.6 hours, okay? So I know the time of my flight started at 80.6. Now, if I land at 81.5, that ends up at what? 40, 50 minutes, whatever it works out to, you know. So your log is there straight away. And then in the log, we have things like, yes, your landings, your touch and goes, and then there's remarks. So you can add things that you did. I might have done 3 touch and goes, 3 glide approaches, engine off, landing from 3,500 feet to a paddock, you know, all that sort of stuff.
The touch and goes, that's right. The touch and goes are separate, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Even in the log, and the landings are separate.
Even like conditions, you know, in my remarks, I might put it was very warm and the atmospheric was, 30.61 or, whatever.
I'm so glad we don't have to do logs PPG. I'm just saying.
It's easy. You come down from your flight, just like you might be having a cuppa or a cold drink after, and you got your logbook and just fill it in. It only takes 2 seconds. And your memory's fresh. If you're teaching, Sean, you can't do that because you got to go and talk to them or debrief. But
I'm glad.
It is really a little debrief after your flight. And
I'm glad that you did say that, though, because I do keep track of my hours from my hour meter that my motor is on.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, when I get up to 5,000 feet and I turn off my motor, I don't know how long I'm gliding with my motor off. Okay. I let my engine warm up on my rack between 1 and 5 minutes, depending on the day and how cold it is. So I honestly don't know the exact hours I have flown, but I do know how long my motor's been on. And that's when Viterazzi says to do certain maintenance so things don't happen to my motor. Once again, for flights, I don't know about flights. I don't know how many miles I've gone. I do know when I need to maintenance my motor. I think that's the only reason why I care about hours on my motor is strictly to maintenance it. Wow, it's after 9 o'clock. We've been talking a lot. This was only supposed to be 1 hour. Look at us go. This is crazy.
It's been fun.
It's been really good. Wow. Once we start talking paramotors, it's like, I guess we can talk all night long. But anyway, I guess it is time to wrap this all up. Anybody have anything they want to say about flying? Anything that they're going to do? I know that this Christmas on the 25th is going to be a Saturday, and it's supposed to be 70 degrees over here. I think Friday is supposed to be 73. Christmas is supposed to be 70, and then I think it's supposed to be 70 on Sunday. I think it's all.
Sean.
I think it's all flyable.
So bad for you, Sean.
I'm not sure if it's all flyable because of the wind, but we'll find out. So I guess real quick, if you're still in the super chat, what are your, what's Christmas going to be like for you? Is it going to be flyable? Is it going to be, what's the temperature going to be like? How about you guys in the panel here? What's your temperature supposed to be like? What's the weather supposed to be like? Will it be flyable for Christmas?
I think it's supposed to be warm and flyable.
It will be flyable. And actually, we will be getting on a plane to go down to Florida where it's warm.
I heard Jade told me about it.
So yes, it's going to be flyable for us.
Good
That's
answer.
awesome.
Good answer.
Very good answer.
No, it's going to be. I think Christmas Day. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be rainy, and it's going to be kind of windy. Like Friday, it's supposed to be kind of rainy, and when is Christmas? When is Christmas Day? Sunday? Saturday?
Saturday.
Anyway, yeah. So they said it's supposed to be kind of windy and rainy on Christmas Day. So.
Mark H. PPG Trike Jockey said, "Thanks, Sean. Just rub it in." So I guess you're not, Mark. I guess you're not going to fly. Let's see, what else does it say in the super chat? Flying here Christmas Day, says Bill H. It will be like a 5-minute flight, says Nick Griffith. Nick Griffith, you won a shirt. Text me, let me know your address so I can send you out a shirt for you.
How do you do a 5-minute flight? That's pretty.
You know,
Nick,
it takes.
it's gonna be
Up
nice
in the
and
air,
warm
go
that
down.
day. Come
That's
on,
it.
bud, you can fly. More than
Well, I mean,
five.
I guess it's to say that you flew on Christmas, I suppose.
Yeah.
Daniel Roosh says it's snowing and cold here in Idaho.
But is he gonna fly?
I know. It's like, but are you going to fly?
It snowed here today. It's okay though. I love it.
Bill H said 77 here and sunny. Oh, talking about rubbing it in, Bill H. Jeez.
Oh my God, get the suntan lotion out there.
I
Bill H?
know. Bill H, where do you live and why is it 77 degrees there on Sunday? Anybody else?
Yeah, I think Bill's down in Texas.
It's always so windy in Texas.
Always.
I want to go down in Texas and fly with peeps, but
Do it.
it's always so windy. It's like almost not flyable. Josh Perry is going to drag me down south here a couple weeks. I'm gonna fly my butt off in some warm freaking air, says Hot Buttered Productions.
Oh Lord.
Looks like for us, Friday afternoon is going to be flyable, and Thursday afternoon will be flyable. So we might take a few laps around the neighborhood.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long because at 22 degrees and 28 degrees.
Oh,
So
By the time you guys count though, for the very second you get out of the car or whatever, you start counting that as a flight because you guys are flying to get you.
Yeah.
Everything go on. I can just see it.
yeah, we drive them out of the garage and right down to the lake, and we quickly set them up. We just, we were talking about touch and goes, so we get them into the air and then quickly settle them back down. So that's a flight.
There you go.
It's about a 30-second flight. That's a flight.
You're like, that's enough. Okay. Now go and
No,
have hot
it's-
chocolate.
Right? No, it's when you go up, every time you go up, something else is going on. Either you might have cold fingers, you might have the air going down your cuffs. Jade went up and she did a loop and her forehead was exposed. So it felt like pins and needles on her forehead. So you always forget that little to pull the headpiece down to protect that, or to put it up over your nose and mouth. You just try to remember everything, but you always seem to forget something, and you got to come down.
That gives me chills. I get cold just taking the freaking garbage out to my parking lot at my apartment over here.
the only thing that
If you want to know what it's like, just go 20 miles an hour in your car and hang your head out the window.
Okay. I'll do that. Next time my son picks me up, I'll just stick my head out the window.
There you
And
go.
he does it periodically because he'll like throw the heat on the truck. And then I'd be
Well.
like, okay, I'm good now. Are you good? Okay. So they'll turn the heat off. And they'll mess with me and then they'll hit the button and the back window will go down. Okay, Mom, are
Right.
you cooled off? You all right? And it's like, yeah. So
The only thing that gets cold on me when I fly is my hands. Other things get cold, but it doesn't bother me. But my hands is what bothers me. When they get cold, I'm done. So I've tried everything. I got some of that tent spray. Have you ever seen that tent spray that makes it waterproof? So I got
Yeah.
some of that, and I sprayed it on my gloves, hoping that that would take care of the wind, that silicone spray. And I haven't tried it yet, but I did spray down my gloves, and I can't wait to go up and see if that actually helped or not.
Ooh, let us know.
Very nice. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Because if that does, that's $3 of spray that you can get at
I'm
Walmart.
spraying every layer I got.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
I mean, spray your trousers, your shirt, your jacket, all that stuff, and that's and if that keeps it from getting cold, that might be something. Hey, anybody out there in the super chat? And by the way, thank you very much. We had 20 people watching and 21 thumbs up. So thank you very much for the thumbs up. I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for the donations in the super chat.
Absolutely.
Nick Griffith and DP donated. Definitely appreciate that, guys. But what do you do when it gets cold up there? Do you have any tips or tricks that you can let us know real quick before we head on out of here to keep your hands, your body warm? Like I said, I got gloves that are battery heated, and I sprayed some of that tent spray on to make it waterproof, but I haven't gone up and flown yet to see if it actually worked or not. Any tips or tricks? Anybody out there?
Heated gloves. Heated gloves.
That's a tip.
Yeah, we use what do we use? We use the ones made from Canada, and they also have heated soles that you can put in your shoes or boots, and they also
Ooh.
make a heated vest.
Wow.
They make heated like a kidney belt, a heated one for. So they have quite a few.
What is a heated kidney belt?
It's like just a belt, I guess. You know what I'm thinking is it's more for people that maybe snowmobile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you would use it. But I use motion heat
Okay.
gloves, and they seem to make pretty decent products. We have the 12-volt version. I think I'm going to go and order some batteries with. I think they go up to 16 volt, but they also make an adapter that you can use it with a Milwaukee battery. So definitely heated gear, good boots, good insulated boots. I use a one-piece snowsuit that came from my father that worked on the oil fields up in Alaska. It was issued, and I still have it, and I still use that, and that keeps you warm.
Mm-hmm.
Woolen socks, Eric?
I'm sorry, what?
Woolen socks?
Wool socks?
Wool socks. Okay? Woolen.
Wool socks.
Woolen socks?
Woolen sheep. Wool.
Yeah, wool socks.
Wool.
Yes. Smart wool. I got the smart wool.
Yep.
And boots that are weatherproof, waterproof boots. My feet do not, and they're not heated socks either. They're just regular smart wool. Matter of fact, look up smart wool socks. They are the best socks I've ever had in my life. A little bit pricey, but oh my God. So they're not heated, but they keep my feet warm. Daniel Roos in the super chat said rubber gloves under heated gloves. Does that work? Because I've tried that before and my fingers froze.
I wear my heated liners, and I throw on over them a Carhartt makes a glove that is a material. It's like a canvas, and that's what I wear over them to block the air, and that seems to retain the heat in.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the dexterity thing. A lot of people don't like flying with gloves. I have learned to fly with gloves. So,
yes.
And then you have to worry also about the sweaty hands too. I've heard with the rubber gloves.
That's, I think, why my hands got so cold is because they were damp. They weren't able to breathe. I don't know, but they didn't work very well for me. I tried that one time and my hands were freezing.
So there's my tip. A balaclava.
A baklava.
A baklava. Yeah. There's my baklava. But wait.
And your aluminium.
There's more. This was like, I don't know, 10 or $12. But then I sewed in a fabric face mask on the inside, you know, where it comes up over your nose. And because it's got that little metal clip, it can form a seal around your nose, you know, so air can't get down and behind it and under. You know, like just a regular face mask.
Does that keep the air fogging up your goggles, or does that keep it from getting COVID at 10,000 feet?
I have not once gotten COVID at 10,000 feet, so it might be onto something there, Eric. Well, anyways, this gives an extra little layer of warmth because my sinus, it just kills me, that cold air rushing up like that. And so that has solved that problem for me.
And that's 40 degrees?
Yeah, the frigid 40.
When you put that on,
is it kind of like eating Dairy Queen too fast and then you get an ice cream headache? Well, is that what that's like?
It's kind of like that, but more intense.
Will, do you wear some sort of goggles or glasses? And if you do, does that fog them up at all?
It does. Yeah, it has not gotten rid of the fogging up of the glasses. I don't have so much of a problem with it when I'm in flight, but I had to pull down the mask and, you know, while I'm warming up and taking off and stuff. But in flight, I guess the glasses cool down. I don't know. It hasn't been as big of a problem in flight.
Nick Griffiths said that it's balaclava. Baklava is a nice little thing to eat with your coffee, but
balaclava.
Balaclava.
It's however you want to say it.
I would rather have baklava, the Greek pastry.
Balaclava. It's the name of my city. I live in Adelaide here.
There you go.
I can't even say it now.
Sean Navsgar says use snowboarding goggles. Yep, that's we have those. We use those too.
Oh, there you go.
What we've learned is you don't put them down or pull the balaclava up until you're ready to launch, and then the air going across your face mask and your goggles will keep it from fogging up. That's what we do. So right before we take it. Yeah, I wear glasses, but then I wear goggles over it.
Okay. Now that's interesting because I wear glasses too. And the goggles kind of, I thought, would interfere with that. The ski goggles.
You have to find big enough goggles. Hold on.
Oh. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you wear your glasses when you're up there so you can see where you're flying, right?
I have a ski mask.
Glasses.
See the watch.
Ski goggles. I have ski goggles, but haven't used it yet.
So these are what we have. And they're big enough to where your glasses will fit actually inside. And you can change out your lenses for cloudy days or sunny days. And these are just ski goggles.
Oh, guys, I just thought of something. You know that Apple is coming out, you know, they're going to stop making iPhones so they can do their Apple Glass, you know, and, you know, Google has the Google glasses, right? The Google Glass. Can you imagine flying with your Apple Glass or your Google Glass and seeing, I can't even imagine what could be on the display. I bet your altitude, speed, and all that stuff could be on your Apple Glass display.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Where do you get those, Eric?
Any sporting goods stores that sells ski gear.
Look on Amazon. I found a pair for like Amazon. $10 delivered.
Yeah, but the ones that you've already proven work for glasses. That's why I want the ones that you got. So I don't.
Yeah, these are These are made by Oakley, and
Oh, that's a good brand.
we got these at a ski hill. But if you go on Amazon, you'll find them.
Write that down, Will.
Eric's coming.
Oakley, not Oakley, Oakley. Ley.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Good on you, Ma.
It's a good
Have you
brand.
guys heard about the Tesla phones?
The what?
The Tesla phones. So Elon Musk, has put up those satellites, right? And they have high-speed internet access. He's making a phone that connects to the satellites, that delivers high-speed internet to your phone, and cell service from the satellites anywhere on Earth. You don't need to be around a tower. There's no dead spots.
Huh.
You can tether that to your computer or your home internet and have high-speed internet off your phone. If you haven't done so, I think investing in some Tesla stock, now that it went down under $900 and some per, it already went up to $1,200. So we know it's going to go back up. So something tells me when they have the Tesla phones, it's going to be a big thing. I think they're going to wipe the iPhones and Google phones and Amazon Androids off the market.
Wow.
What do you guys think? Real quick.
Interesting.
That would be cool. This is what Sean Nasker was talking about. They've got those glasses that do what you're talking about. But they only last an hour and a half. So that's pretty cool. If I could find a picture or something of it, but
You might be able to plug them into a battery source and keep them going while you're in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And having signal everywhere, there's going to be no more AT&T. There's going to be no more Verizon. It's just going to be Tesla. He's going to,
Really?
he's just going to destroy what's out there right now.
heads up and hands free. Well, that's interesting. It's going to
Yeah,
be
it
an
is.
exciting next 20 years, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Self-driving cars. Hell, self-driving paramotor. That's going to be the next thing, is self-driving paramotors.
That won't be any fun though.
No.
Not at all.
But I tell you what, with all the drone technology that's out there right now, it's only going to be a matter of time before we are going to need ADS-B in and out on our paramotor, at least out so people can see us.
Right.
And right now it costs $2,000 to get a battery operated one that we could put on ours. That's for UAVs. I don't have $2,000 to try it, but people have already done it.
That would be cool.
So it's only a matter of time, because we're going to be up there with Amazon drones, and I don't want to get zapped by Amazon drones.
No, not at all. This was really interesting tonight. I learned a lot. On safe.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then what's the square of pi?
I don't know, all those numbers you were throwing out there earlier
I
about
have no idea.
about the class airspace. Yeah, you lost me there. But I was the sign language and everything, and I was like, oh, okay.
Hey, guys, guys and girls, Linda, just want to add something that I've never seen anyone in America do, PPC guys or trike people.
Yeah.
Over here we do, in the touch and go, we keep the front wheel up. So it's like doing a wheelie.
Right.
And I've seen it done for 700 meters or more. One of the guys up there just touch and go, land with your back wheels and keep your front wheel up all the way and just kite all the way and then just power up and go again. I've never seen anyone doing it with a trike, Eric, in America. Have you seen that?
We will practice that. Jade's been practicing that lately, because it is kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
especially with a tandem, it's quite easy, I think. The
I
longer-
wouldn't wouldn't know that, but I know that she's been practicing her low flight and doing the wheelies. I've done them, not for 700 meters or kilometers or
We got a long runway, so you can do that. You know what I mean? So,
right.
yeah, but
Yep.
You're in flight, but just your back wheels are on the ground, the front wheels up, and you're kiting all the way down, which is it's a great feeling and spectacular wise to any onlookers on the side watching.
Yeah, no, it is impressive to see.
Yeah. It
Well,
is.
shoot, I'm going to try that next.
Yeah. Give it a go. Give it a go, guys. It is fun. And it does look good for spectators because they don't see that often.
That sounds pretty neat. Hey, Will Fly, is that true? Is it really 6.9? Blah, blah, blah.
I'm just messing with them.
Okay. If you guys are listening to this podcast, you really need to run over to clearproptv.com or iflyparamotors.com and actually watch the chat. The live chat is absolutely hilarious. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of. So if you ever get the chance to actually, watch the live show and see the super chat, it's really fun. I think it's just as fun being in the super chat as it is listening to us or be part of the panel. What do you guys think?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. You see me at every show. I jump in there and hang with everybody, and yeah, it's fun. I love it. I love tonight. I love being with you guys and everything, and yeah. And then during the week, I love to support the shows. Just be there in the chat and say hi to everybody, and that's what we do. Cool.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
this has gone on a lot longer than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it's just a few days before Christmas. I thought, let's just do a quick 1 hour, get out of here, get back with the families. But here it is rolling up on 10 o'clock already. Holy smokes. I love doing this. I love talking about paramotors, and I could probably talk all day. But I know that you guys have family and friends and just, want to just kick back and relax and not be on a podcast or not be talking in the super chat. What do you guys think in the super chat? Do you like when this thing rolls more than an hour, or do you want this to be an hour podcast? So let's go ahead and wrap this all up. My name is Sean Simons, PPG Grandpa. You can find me at ppggrandpa.com or iflyparamotors.com. You can find us every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on clearproptv.com. Find us anytime audio-wise on paratalk.org or search for PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast. On Tuesday night, I'll let Eric Lear, why did I say Eric Lear, talk about his podcast on Tuesday night. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Eric Lear. You can find me at ppglear.com on Tuesday nights with Shane, Will, and Mark. And we're trying to kind of gear this towards more of an educational podcast for new pilots. Also, you can see Flying Flamingo Jade on her show on Wednesdays. Girls Just Want to Fly. You can find her at Flying Flamingo Jade or paramotorgirl.com.
Awesome. And also Paramount USA has a son that does a podcast. Linda Anderson, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh. I love being on the show. I love being on the podcast here. It's like I said, if you guys want to hook up with me and want to get on our show on Monday night, just go to ParamountUSA.com and just message me, or you can just private message me or whatever and just say, hey, I want to be on your show, and we'll get it all squared away. Otherwise, on Thursday nights, you can find me on paraglidingtalk.com with your host, Robert Michael. And he always has awesome guests and talk about paragliding, paramotoring, whatever goes. And I just tell everybody, come on, hang out with us, hang in the chat. It's a lot of fun. And I just messaged Robert, and there is going to be a show on Thursday night. So y'all got to come out and hang out with us.
Awesome.
All there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Will Fly, you got a YouTube channel that's blown up and thousands of people watch each and every one of your videos. They're done so well. Tell us a little bit about your channel and how to get to it.
All right. It's you can find me on youtube.com/willfly or willflyppg.com. Just a collection of silly videos about my flying paramotors and adventures. And the last one was really cool because everybody here in the local group got to participate and give some good tips on paramotoring. It was a lot of fun to make. And this is the last full moon of the year. I can't think of a better place than to spend it right here with you guys.
Aw, because we're all werewolves?
Yeah. That's why you got to wrap this up early, right?
Exactly. I'm gonna put in the super chat a link to all of the paramotor podcasts that are going on right now. It's over at PPG Zone. If you don't know, on Sunday nights, Josh Perry has a podcast called Mystery Science Paramotor. Really, really funny. You got to check it out. And it shows all the different ones, including Paragliding Talk, the Paramotor podcast with Anthony Villa, and there's more also too. So check it all out. And if you haven't gone to ppgzone.com, make sure you sign up for a free, a free, what am I trying to say? A free
Car.
and free car. Yeah, the free car, free paramotor. It's really cool. ppgzone.com. Hey, if you want to, what's that?
It is a very cool website.
It is a good website. It really is. Have you guys seen the Mystery Science Paramotor on Sunday nights at 7?
Is that
Yes,
what Josh-
last night.
What's it called again, Sean?
Mystery Science Paramotor.
If you go to PPG Zone, it's on there and it'll lead you right to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I put a link in the chat also. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and show you real quick. So here it is over at ppgzone.com/paramotor-podcasts. The first one that pops up is Sunday nights. And here's the link to go to it. And then, of course, ClearProp TV on Monday. You have on Tuesday night, you got your Tuesday night hangouts. On Wednesday, you got Girls Just Want to Fly. Paragliding Talk on Thursdays. The Paramotor Podcast with Anthony Vella. Unfortunately, he doesn't continue his podcast all the time, but he makes some really good videos. And Airy in the Air.
That's
And
cool.
that's all of it. Oh, so since we're here real quick, let me show you the members map. So when you go to the members map, now there's an actual map of the United States, all the different paramotor pilots. You can zoom in wherever you are, and you can see all the pilots that have listed themselves here. And there I am in Conway. Yay.
Oh,
So
look
if
at
you need
you.
any kind of paramotor or wing, you know exactly who to target.
Exactly. So there's PPG Tommy down in Little Rock,
Oh, yeah.
Michael and Cersei, got Fort Smith. So yeah, anybody that you want to check out, yeah, check it out. It's really cool. ppgzone.com. Definitely a place to go if you like to paramotor or want to get into paramotoring or try to find the pilots around you.
Very cool.
PPC Heavy Wally. Well, what's that about? That's a little bit different.
PPC heavy, like heavy aircrafts in the air. So I just put myself in that category.
Okay, Heavy Wally. All right. Anybody else have anything to say before we head on out? Any words of wisdom or anything that we want to talk about before we close out the show?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for everybody listening. Also, that PPG Zone is a good place for new pilots if you want to connect with pilots around your area to ask questions.
Yep.
you know, or to get advice about instructors or schools in the area, you can go on there and talk to a lot of people. As I tell everybody, you know, go meet with a couple of schools and find the one that you really mesh with, and that's the one that you're going to want to pick. And the good thing about the schools is you're going to make a commitment in the school, but you're also going to make a lot of friendships, because it's not just you they're teaching a lot of other students, and you might have a little private fly-in with just the students from that school. So, and just have fun. That's what it's all about, having fun.
Exactly. And of course, if you're in the Arkansas area, central Arkansas, and you do want to learn to fly, I do have a school, and you guys are more than welcome to give me a chat. You can find me on the PPG Zone under Paramotor Arkansas. Holy smokes, I got 5 stars. That's awesome. And there's all the information. You can get up with me. There's my phone number and my email address and where I'm located. Anyway, I had a really good time with you guys. I cannot believe that Christmas is right around the corner. I heard that Santa Claus has given up his sleigh and reindeer and now flying tandem paramotors.
Oh,
Smart
there you
Santa.
go.
Yep. A little bit more slow, but it's more fun.
He'll be here in Australia first before you guys, so I'll let you know, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He'll probably have to.
I'd like to wish you, Sean, and the team and everyone in the chat a big happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, whatever you want to say. Let's hope, and New Year coming, let's hope it's all going to be better for us. And yeah, have a good one. Cheers.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And the next, I 2022, unbelievable. It's coming up so quickly. We still got 17 people watching. Guys, do you have nothing better to do than to listen to Paramotor podcasts?
I love it.
And the chat is just going really crazy too. Let me go ahead and say hi to some people in here, and hopefully I can and say hopefully I said hi to everybody. Let's see, Sean NASCAR, Wiggy Wing. Am I saying that right? Hot Buttered Production, Tony Marzano, Nick Griffith. Man, you guys are just talking and talking and talking. Slow Days. Oh, Slow Days is in the house. What's up?
Hey.
PPG, the other Nick. Mark H, PPG Trike Jockey. Eric Lear. Who's that guy? He sounds familiar, but I don't know.
I know. Gosh.
Randy Milstead. Deweese's better half. I think that's the way it goes. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? There's so many people in the chat. I hope I got everybody. I hope I said hello to everybody. If I didn't, Paramotor Girls in the house. Woohoo!
Yay.
So I think I got everybody. If I didn't, I am so sorry. You guys have a wonderful evening. Everyone that's in the chat, thank you so much. You guys that are here and have chatted with me, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know that there's so many other things you could do, but you're here. Here's our new T-shirt from our store. I don't fly, I dangle from strings. String Life. This is from Michael. Michael decided that this would be a fun T-shirt, so we designed it and put it on the store. If you guys have any designs or any wording, some really good wording for T-shirts, let me know. Email them to ppggrandpa@gmail.com. Put them over here in the super chat and let me know, and we will make your very own T-shirts available in our merch store. The merch store is over at iloveppg.com.
Right on.
Anything else, guys, before we head on out?
How do I send Robert the link so he can watch the show tonight? I mean, because after I always forget.
Our link, what you can do is you can go to iflyparamotors.com.
Okay.
And then look for the last live stream. That'd be the easiest way to do it.
Okay. All right. He was just that because I told him I was on here tonight. He said, "Send me the link."
Yeah, iflyparamotors.com. When you go there, you can find the link. Matter of fact, if you want to, iflyparamotors.com. It forwards to my YouTube channel, which is really cool. And then I
Okay.
go to the live stream. I click the live stream, which is episode 101, and I'll copy that, and I can put that in our super chat. Oh, I can just copy and paste it to you in Zoom. Anything
Okay.
else? Anything else, guys, before we head on out? Any words of wisdoms or anything that you guys want to say? I mean, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
All the different holidays that are out there that I may not say. What is there? Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. What other?
Cinco de Mayo.
Why not?
Buon Natale.
Whatever holidays are out there that you have to drink more. Those are always good ones. Happy everything and Happy New Year.
Happy holiday. Now you know why they say happy holidays.
Happy holidays, because so many people celebrate different things. Why exclude people that don't just celebrate Christmas? I think it should be everybody. Which reminds me, I was on Our Christmas on Reddit, and I said something about, well, how about happy holidays for other people? And they permanently banned me.
What?
Yeah, I put it on my Facebook. They permanently banned me because I asked something about other holidays. Oh, well, I guess you don't ask about other holidays when you're on Our Christmas. Anyways, guys.
They didn't ban you from Reddit, just that group.
Just that group. I'm permanently banned.
I got you.
I put it on my Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Sean Fitness, SHAWNFITNESS. That's before when I was like working out and not a fat grandpa.
On fitness.
Yeah, not a fat grandpa. All right, guys. Anything else?
Well, I say
That's
stay
it.
humble and have fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, who's that blurry girl in the background?
There she is.
There she is. There she gone. There she is. There she.
It's
Okay.
America.
Oh, you two are so cute.
They
I love you
are.
both. I love you both. I love you all.
We're talking about you.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh,
She's saying she can't hear.
Oh. All right. We'll see y'all later. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow
later.
at
Thanks,
ppglear.com.
Jared. Love y'all.
Woo!
Night.